Just in time for Sizzling Sprint Week. Now through Sunday, November 17th, get a free 49-inch LG 4K TV when you lease the LG G8X ThinQ Plus dual screen for just $15 per month. That's right, a free TV. Hurry in, this offer won't last long. Visit your local Sprint store now through November 17th and take advantage of this offer while supplies last. Phone $15 per month after $16.21 per month credit. Apply within 2 bills. Requires 18-month lease, new line activation, and approved credit if you cancel early. Remaining balance due. Excludes tax, TV, and screen. Require online registration. Ships from LG. Not available in store. Subject after $30 activation fee. Restrictions apply.
Dedicated, yes. To our favorite shows!
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad!
Scary Dog!
Blinson at Blinksville! Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premier podcast TV party tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, our favorite shows are NXT, WarGames, and Survivor Series. That's the best voice I'm going to be able to do for that particular one. Brought to you by the good people at World Wrestling Entertainment and Titan Sports, which is the same goddamn thing. I don't even know if there's still Titan Sports. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. It's the WWE. Anywho, we've got a cast of thousands that we've reduced to 3. Here we go. First, my buddy, my AEW partner in crime. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Chris Bailey. Chris Bailey, how do you do?
Good evening, Mr. Radulich. I'm here to talk all about the AEW invasion of NXT when Dr. Britt Baker shows up on this pay-per-view. I can't wait to discuss it. It's all over the news.
My favorite
That's
part
my lead.
My favorite part of that is allegedly the director didn't know who she was. Good.
I believe that.
Good media penetration, everybody.
They asked who the ugly chick in the front row was.
Oh, here we go. Boo.
Mamma mia!
Listen,
She's a dentist.
Adam Cole had a great week, but a very painful week. You leave Britt Baker alone. She was worried. Poor woman. Those other voices you hear cackling at the sight of Britt Baker. First, from the 197 podcast he does in his own network. I don't even know what to call it anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, it's from, I guess, Chris's on Infinite Earths and the Cosmic Treadmill, and he'll fill in the rest. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pronounce his name right and not have a brain fart this time. It's Chris Sheehan.
Sheehan.
Damn it.
Oh, keep saying Sheehan. It's better. Oh, man.
All right, Ham Sandwich, how do you do?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. How about you?
I'm all right. Sheehan?
There you are. Yeah,
there we are.
Just like
right.
that rock from that Jewish comic book.
Perfect. I struggle with English. All right, and speaking of struggling with English, ladies and gentlemen, your host of the Source Material Podcast and the Unspoken Issues brought to you by the Unspoken Decade. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Unspoken Jesse Starcher, who didn't see NXT WarGames. How do you do, sir?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go sit in a corner and sit over here and be quiet for quite a while. But it is good to be here and listen live as these guys talk about WarGames.
That was your Nigel McGuinnes, eh?
We'll go ahead and say yes. You guys should have heard me on the treadmill yesterday while watching Survivor Series, and my son was in the same room because I had to make sure that I did Nigel McGuinnes the whole way through. I would call the matches. Do you see Brock Lesnar? He picks him up and he threw him all the way across the ring, and he's out of the ring. There you go.
Mamma mia! All right.
By God!
We're 5 minutes into this. We're already having too much fun and have run everyone off. All right.
I don't know what you're talking about, Mark Radulich.
Nobody ever does. All right, so the two Chris's. Did either of you watch the pre-show with Angel Garza and Isaiah Swerve Scott? First, Bailey.
Yes, I did. I don't know what to say about Angel Garza. I mean, he looks like a WCW wrestler from like the dying ages of WCW. Remember back in the day when they were like out of talent and they were swapping people in and out, and like 3 Count were still alive, but in the dying days.
You're not talking shit about Kwee-Wee, are you?
Oh man. Yes, I am.
My favorite part about Prince Ayakea also, he was also Query, right?
Yes.
No.
That
was a different dude. Yeah.
Oh, either way, was whatever broad was what he was with at the time, referring to him as Da Queewee. I have never been able to get that out of my head.
That wasn't Booker T's wife. That was Paisley or something, right?
Yes, Paisley. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wee was Alan Funk.
Terrific.
Cool. Related to Flash or Terry?
Neither. He competed on Lucha Libre as Chi-Chi, so that, just useless information all over the place here.
Very cool.
Yes. Now you know. The more you know, people.
So
that's one to grow on.
So tell us about your thoughts about the waiter in a Mexican restaurant versus Isaiah Jobber Scott.
Well, it looks like Mr. Scott once again loses out, but both guys are. I don't even know their place in NXT. I mean, they have this weird just open card spot, and they got it here again. And this match ended with Angel Garza going over, and it was like I don't even know, like I don't even know what it was. They called it the wing clipper. I don't even know how to describe the move. I mean, they were doing Death Valley drivers, they were doing moonsaults, they were doing all kinds of different things. But
AE-Dub.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. It looked like an opening match on AEW Dynamite, like of no consequence whatsoever. Even the crowd were really not into this match very much at all. So now it changed, of course, when the actual show came on. But Angel Garza seems like he should be AEW bound. That's all I'll say about this.
Angel Garza is like their second best. Well, the guy they're pushing right behind Leo Rush right now. Like Angel Garza, not that long ago, had a cruiserweight title opportunity against Leo Rush, the returning Leo Rush, during the first month of the Wednesday Night Wars. Chris, did you see this?
Yeah, no, actually I didn't see this, but I did want to congratulate Angel Garza on being retroactively named the winner of the breakout competition that NXT had a couple months ago. I mean, that was a hard-fought victory, and I'm very proud of him. I do see him going very far.
Sure. As long as they don't put out a terribly misconstrued racist T-shirt.
Yeah, that's part of the contingency. They got to make sure they don't do that, and everything will be cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're just going to put where Jordan Miles's smile lips thing was on the T-shirt. They'll just replace it with a taco that says Angel Garza. It'll be fine.
It'll be wonderful.
And then poor old Swerve can go back to CZW where he belongs, or MML, or wherever the blue hell he's going to end up now.
Who was he before he came? Who was he before he came over?
Shane Strickland.
That's the name I'm thinking of. Okay, I knew he was someone that I had heard of. I just didn't remember which one that I heard of.
It was in Evolve for a little while, Combat Zone Wrestling, and a few things like that. But
because he was in MLW for a bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He was on Lucha Underground too. He was Killshot.
Huh.
Yeah. None of which anyone cares about.
I like both these guys. I think they're good for popping a crowd, or maybe they're not. But I like what they do. I think Angel Garza has a bright future if they keep paying attention to him.
Yeah, well, he's the flavor of the month right now. He's fine. All right, let's get to the one we all want to talk about here. Team Ripley versus Team Baszler. Team Ripley consisting of Rhea Ripley, the future ex-Mrs. Radulich. Oh, my goodness. Right, Jesse?
That's right, buddy.
Oh, where's my sound effects? Come on, let's one more time.
Hamna.
That's right. Mrs. Gargano, Candice LeRae.
Dollar Shop Candice.
Yeah. The Bionic Legs, Tegan Knox, and Darth Dakota Kai.
God.
Yes. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Versus your NXT Women's Champion for 12 years now, Shayna Baszler. Bianca Belair, which, oh my God, the muscles on that chick, man. Sheesh. Io Shirai.
EST.
Yeah, baby.
Of NXT.
Io Shirai. Crazy-ass Io Shirai, who's never been more popular than she is right now since she took on crazy behavior. And Kaylee Ray. That's it, just Kaylee Ray.
Oh, the UK girl, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Just every time I think Kaylee Ray, I think the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland's like, and the King. Just
Meh.
All right, so let me quick give you my thoughts on this, and then I'll turn it over to you guys. I loved this match because, and here's what I've been telling people who've been asking me about it, or talking about it on Twitter or in chats or whatever. What I liked about this was it wasn't just an 8-man tag in a cage. This had a great story that they told within the wrestling, which, because you see it so rarely now, it's amazing when it actually happens. But they set things up from what a rare thing. They set things up in the shows leading to this. They set up Dakota Kai trying to find her spot on Team Ripley, her losing a match, and then her being ousted for Mia Yim. And then Mia Yim loses the ladder match to Io Shirai. And then somebody, a mystery person, who I'm sure we'll find out is Dakota Kai, attacks Mia Yim, so she's out of the match. And then just when there's an opportunity to tie things up and even the score, Dakota Kai screws Rhea Ripley and Candice LeRae and beats the living hell out of Tegan Nox for being overlooked and not chosen, and all this crap that happened, and overshadowed. So what's killing me here is that this is the story they were trying to tell with Bayley, but Bayley seems to be on like antidepressants or something. I don't know what they're doing with her.
You are damn right.
This is the story they were trying to tell with Bayley, but they did it right with Dakota Kai, and we'll get to Bayley a little bit later. But this is how you tell that story. And the best part of this match was Dakota Kai doing that turn, because even though you saw it coming, they paid off a great setup. They talk about Chekhov's gun. If you introduce it, you better use it later. And they kept showing you all these different beats of the story, and then finally, boom, the explosion. And the look on Rhea Ripley, more like Dakota Kai definitely did her part in coming off as like a savage, spurned psycho. She did everything but boil someone's bunny in that moment.
Oh, man.
But the look on Rhea Ripley's face on, I messed up bad. And realizing that she's now it's going to be a 4-on-2. And then what's even, the look on her face of, I am in deep shit now. And then in the next moment, Shayna Baszler comes down the aisle and she's like, yeah, I got this. Like, I love it when a plan comes together and I didn't do nothing. Sometimes the best stories are told with just a look. We've cited the Cactus Jack emergence on Raw with Triple H, how if Triple H hadn't had that look, that never works. Another famous one, when Ric Flair shows up and Vince McMahon's like tugging on his ear. Like, these were all just perfect reactions. And Shayna Baszler and Rhea Ripley both had the best reactions of this match. The actual match itself, I mean, look, they're all fairly talented, crisp performers. There's, the 6 gals that ended up staying in this match are not terrible by any stretch of the imagination. And I thought they pulled off a very entertaining match. But I was just enraptured by the story that I laid out there. And my favorite spot, though, of the match was, I think it was Rhea Ripley to Bianca Belair, where she had her back to Belair, and Belair kind of like, I think, came over the rope, and she just fucking waylaid her with the garbage can. Just spun around like Casey at the bat and knocked one into the bleachers. But yeah, I'm pretty sure all of Bianca Belair's math went into the upper deck. This might be my favorite match of the weekend. What do you think, Chris Bailey?
Oh man, this was really, really good, and a standout for the NXT women's roster as well. Anyone who says women wrestling is boring in 2019, man, they're outshining some of the guys a lot of the time. And this was excellent. So let's start at the beginning. So I mean, you had Rhea Ripley in the ring. I mean, you had Bianca Belair. They were fooling around in the ring. They were getting, grabbing all kinds of weapons underneath the ring. That's one thing I made a note of. So what's hilarious is that, underneath the ring is filled with the regular schlock. Like, it had your kendo stick, it had your trash can, it had your chairs, but it also had tables. Now, they had to save the table spot for the end of the show, okay? They were definitely saving those up. And the crowd was really into the garbage spots, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They were chanting for tables. Now, Ripley, when she's underneath the ring, accidentally grabs the table just momentarily and just has is holding on to it, and then she sort of slides it back in, realizing, oh, I can't use this. I thought that was pretty funny. Like you said, the heel turn by Dakota Kai. I love the way they played it out. So they're in the cage. They're waiting waiting for the countdown to come down. Dakota Kai's name it's her time to exit the cage and go towards the cell. And she steps out momentarily, and then she turns like a motherfucker. Mm-hmm. And man, she is like hot after Tegan Knox. I mean, this was like Paul Orndorff, Hulk Hogan back in '86. Man, these people were ripping each other apart. And Dakota Kai, I mean, just the look she had, the aggression. This was an excellently done heel turn. I mean, wow. Like you said, just a look, just a shot, and man, poor Bayley can only. I mean, she just must be just crying in her sleep right now over this one, because this is that heel turn done right. A lot of stuff in the middle of the ring. I mean, you had Bianca Belair in there hitting like 450 splashes. You had an unbelievably over Io Shirai. I mean, she got a Road Warrior pop coming to the ring for this one out of nowhere. I mean, everybody else was getting, reasonably great applauses for NXT, but when Io Shirai came to the ring, this place came unglued. It was like, oh my God, the second coming of Christ. I don't know what happened. It also had a very, very unique ending too. So the entire spot was Shayna Baszler was trying to muscle poor old Rhea Ripley into, I think it was an armbar or the chokehold or whatever.
Yeah, it was a rear naked choke.
Yeah, the rear naked choke. And Rhea Ripley slaps handcuffs on Shayna Baszler. So she's sort of just stuck with her. She can't get away. She can't do anything, and she just ends up beaten by Rhea Ripley.
And it was the handcuffs that Shayna Baszler introduced.
Yes. It was It was fantastic booking. I got to say, Candice LeRae somehow held on. Will somebody tell me why this dollar store chick, they just want to keep pushing her and her saggy-ass Velveteen Dream style pants. I just don't get that girl. I don't understand. Rhea Ripley came out as a star, and so did Bianca Belair, and by God, Hulk Hogan, Io Shirai did as well. Shayna Baszler, she is, let me tell you something. She's a utility player, and she's probably one of the best, most significant players that NXT women's division has right now. So, love this match just like you, Mark. Lots of great stories to be told in this one.
And I have to say, Christian, the ending to this, I was okay with the faces winning. Heels are allowed to blow a 4-on-2 lead and get their comeuppance, and the good guys are allowed to fight from underneath against insurmountable odds and come out the other end winning. It helped that they had a lot of plunder in there to use in order to give them that opportunity, but everything, I mean, like, you couldn't have written a better screenplay, let alone lay out a match in terms of beats and and high points and things being paid off. Like, I'm gushing about this match.
No, it was a fantastic match, and the fact that the faces won simply because of Shayna's own hubris was was the kicker for me. I mean, like you mentioned, she introduced the handcuffs and wound up, hoist by her own petard. I thought that was a really good way to do it. And I love the turn. I love the fact that the turn happened outside the ring. Because had it gone in the ring, they still would have been fighting in the ring. I like the fact that she beat up Tegan and they were just both out of the match. It wasn't like it was just going to be a 4-on-3 if Tegan was able to, huff it and get back into the ring or get back into the fight or something. This was just two people eliminated from the entire proceeding, really putting the faces at a handicap and having to not so much out wrestle or out strength the opposing team, but actually just outsmart them and let them trip themselves up because Shayna, like you said, she walked down that aisle so damn smug. I loved it. She was just like, yeah, this is a done deal. I'm gonna go down there, spend a couple of minutes, and hurt people and win the match. And that was her undoing. And I think that's the way you can beat Shayna and keep her strong, so that when somebody finally does beat her for the title, it means something. We see a lot of times where you have the champions losing non-title matches so often that it cheapens the actual title change. And this, I don't feel is in that kind of vein because she was just outsmarted. She let herself get beat and still maintains the credibility as an ass kicker and as a champion.
And I think you have to give credit to Kaylee Ray, Io Shirai, and Bianca Belair because there was a lot of, and you can definitely see this in the men's match as well, where despite having a numbers advantage, they made mistakes. The heels made errors that the faces were then able to utilize in their favor,
capitalize,
and capitalize on. Which, like I said,
also,
that's good storytelling.
Sure, and I'll give it to Bailey's dollar store Candace. She can take an ass kicking pretty good. That's about the only value I see in her in this match. But she ragged all the good deal, so that was a good thing.
She seems like that one girl you see at every Armory show.
Here's what I'll tell you, and I mentioned this to some guys in the chat. I said, and I was talking specifically about Team Kick, but you could throw Candice LeRae in there too. They all look like modern chick versions, like gender swap versions of the Rockers. Like,
sure.
Like, is this a thing now where it's like, I don't know what my gimmick is or what gear to wear, just neon's fine. Look,
who's the Janetti?
Look like you just fell out of a Warren video. It's fine. I'm expecting Tegan Knox, Dakota Kai, and Candice LeRae all to come down to cherry pie someday.
That would get over, brother. That's a
great idea.
By the way, I'm in for Dakota Kai now going all gothed out. Just, eyeliner, doing something different with her hair. Just don't do like Bailey did and look like you're a hostage every time you come out. Jesus Christ. I know I keep saying we'll talk about it later, but clearly I've got some issues with poor Bailey. Speaking of issues...
It feels like she has to have her promos are all different now. I don't think she's comfortable doing the promos, so there might be something to that hostage situation.
It's like Michael Jackson. I don't want to go out there and perform. Get out there. It's good shit, pal.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Pete Dunne defeated Damian Priest and Killian Dane in a triple threat that went 20 minutes and probably 5 minutes too long.
Well, I want to know.
21 minutes too long for a 20-minute match.
Was there small joint manipulation in this match?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
More than anyone could handle. Yeah.
Look, I like Killian Dane. I don't really. Jim Cornette seems to think Damian Priest has got something. I haven't the faintest clue what he's looking at.
Oh, me neither,
He's
brother.
probably going to main event WrestleMania with Matt Morgan.
With his stutter gimmick intact.
And I know that like the people that run NXT were very high on Pete Dunne, and Triple H just thinks Pete Dunne is the bee's knees. I'm a Walter guy. the whole time Pete Dunne was just ruling over the NXT UK with an iron fist, I tuned out of it. I mean, from what I understand, that was like the best year of television ever. You know, from what people tell me, NXT UK for a while was the show to watch. I think some of that is the people I know always think that the best Chinese food store is the one in the abandoned building in the basement behind the door that says "Beware the Leopard." But you know, it's just like, I like this wrestling show that no one's ever heard of. You know, it's called QF Bet Signal. You know, like, all right, I don't know what you're talking about. Either way, I'm slowly but surely starting to warm somewhat up to Pete Dunne. I can see why people like him. And I think these guys tried. I think it was. Here's the thing. I think when your previous match is 30 minutes long and there was so much going on, and your last match is going to be 40 minutes long, and it felt like fucking Star Wars. Like, it was just going all over the place. I don't think you should follow a 30-minute matchup with a 20-minute matchup. This is the thing that Chris Bailey and I talk about with AEW, where you have to give people a break. Yes. And I don't think they did anything in that last 5 minutes they couldn't have done in the previous 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, there comes a point where AEW does this more than I think NXT does, but NXT sometimes falls into the whole, we just got to keep doing moves, and then we'll just end the match at our predetermined, time over. And it's like, no, there should be more of a flow to it. There should be, a beginning, a middle, and an end, psychology, a story to be told with the moves. And this kind of, there were times of brilliance, and then there were times of, but why are we still doing this? And the one detail that stayed with me through this whole thing, and it worked for me both ways, because it was more, it worked like it finally gave Damian Priest some other character besides I have an invisible bow and arrow. He was so frustrated with the whole situation. And there's a point late in the match where he just sort of throws his hands up and goes, I don't know what to do next. Like, it was as if he was saying, like, short of shooting you, I don't know what I can do to defeat you. And he looked so deflated. And I'm like, that's the first time I've seen any character out of this guy. That was perfect. It was like my favorite part of the match. Just an utterly deflated Damian Priest. And then Pete Dunne broke his fingers and we were done. Meh. Chris Bailey.
Yep, you said it, bro. Meh. I mean, you know what? For a triple threat, which is not my favorite match to begin with, it was definitely serviceable. I mean, you had Killian Dane throwing his weight around. I mean, that was pretty fun. I mean, a lot of power moves. You had a couple guys, or at least one guy, who could sell, large tosses across the ring and look like he was getting destroyed in Pete Dunne. But you had just the Carnival Indian standing there dead in the middle of the ring. Was that poor Damian Priest guy. I mean, he's just like a mannequin who stands there and, like, things happen around him, but he physically adds nothing to the match. I don't know. He's got his razor's edge. He's got his invisible bow and arrow, like Mark said. I mean, there's just I don't know. I just don't get the dude. He doesn't do anything. There's no personality. There's not much going on. As for the match, I mean, paint by numbers. Three-way match. Pete Dunne was doing his little trickery with the fingers and some beautiful German suplexes and different things like that. But overall, it could have done without this. It was just serviceable. Yeah. And Pete Dunne won, by the way. So, and as for winning, he also gets now a championship match against Adam Cole at Survivor Series. So the only thing that I would say is at least they had a stipulation that meant something. So something was at stake. So that's the only thing that added a bit of gas to this match.
Sure. Sheehan?
I thought the result was never in question. I figured Pete Dunne was going to win this. I didn't see them putting Priest or even especially Dane in a match at Survivor Series at this point. The joint manipulation. It's like, how come nobody else on the roster manipulates fingers? If it works so damn well, and it's so easy to do, because you could be doing anything and you could snag a finger. It just really just breaks my disbelief. It's like, why isn't Priest ripping fingers off? Why isn't Dane nailing fingers? It just doesn't seem it just always takes me out of the match when it's such an over reliance on such a gimmicky thing that is so exploitable, and yet nobody does it except this one dude who, as I've said before, he reminds me of like if you're playing like with your action figures and somehow a potato rolls into the field. That's Pete Dunne. He's this oddly shaped potato man in with your GI Joes, but it's.
Let's just hope AEW doesn't get the finger break thing, because everybody be doing it from Private Party on down to the bottom of the card.
We'll have finger breaking parties. Yeah, it'll be wonderful.
They'll be doing finger breakings amidst like 450 fucking splashes and
to the ramp. Finger break to the ramp.
They'll do a shooting star press, but they'll catch the finger on the way down and tweak it. It'll be all good.
They'll be breaking fingers while they dive into a bed of barbed wire.
Did you see the way his finger bent back? Oh my gosh.
The angle on that thing.
I'm just now, and people are going to hate this. They're going to hate me for it, which is fine. I'm at Mark Radulich on Twitter.
Let's get that out of the way.
I'm picturing like Orange Cassidy doing joint manipulation, but he's just gently stroking your finger.
Oh, please. Yes. Yes.
Yes, we need this.
Maybe he puts your finger in his pocket. You know?
I don't want.
You can also reach
me
at Mark Radulich on Twitter.
There's nobody who can hate that. That's great.
I don't want to go off on a rail here because this could easily turn into another hour of Orange Cassidy jokes. But what if like his version of joint manipulation is just take your one pointer finger and just put it in his mouth? Just, because they'd let him do it, right? They'd absolutely let Orange Cassidy take one finger and put it in his mouth, oh so sensually.
Yeah.
I heard that Ricochet likes fingers.
He does.
Oh,
not in the mouth, though.
There you go. There you go.
He's gonna.
You can reach Chris Bailey at Mark Radulich on Twitter. All right. If there's nothing else here, Nigel, do you have anything else to say?
Oh no! Please continue. I'm here for the duration. Let's hear the rest of this WarGames coverage.
Okay then. Finn Balor versus Matt Riddle. So the vibe on this match I'm getting from other podcasts is everyone expected this to be fucking just nuts, just balls out. They expected to be. It's like Finn Balor unleashed, and we all know Matt Riddle can go, and he's like a future world champion. This one wasn't that match, and to them I say, in time, my pretties, in time. Why don't we let Finn Balor not injure himself and exist for more than a month? And this is the beginning of Matt Riddle's wrestling career, not the end. Not every match has to be, boy, for those people who criticize me on Twitter for sounding like Jim Cornette, this is not Starrcade 87. The main event, okay? Just fucking relax. Sometimes they just need to do a match. That being said, it was fine. It was perfectly serviceable. These guys can both go. I think it broke up the card. I think it hit a different note than the other three matches hit, which I think is important. As we talked about, as Chris Bailey will tell you, because he's an expert on the subject now, you don't want to be cattle decapitation. The same note over and over again.
No, you don't.
You want to break it up. Be jazz. Just try some different sounds. And so, look, you throw it on late in the card to kind of break up that awesome women's match and that triple threat that went too long. And now you have this kind of shorter, and maybe could have afforded to be even a little more shorter, between Finn Balor and Matt Riddle, which was perfectly competent and executed well. It wasn't anything special, but I don't think it had to be. Right, Bailey?
Yeah, man, this is exactly the right tone. So you don't have repetition. Not every single match needs to be a 5-star, match from the Budokan that good old Mr. Meltzer loves. You need to slow it down. This is not the main event of the show. So this was at the perfect pace, at the right time. It had the right finish, which, by the way, Finn Balor actually won. With his newer finishing move instead of the old coup de grace off the top rope. It's the 1916 DDT, which basically is the old classic brainbuster or the Ghostbuster from Coco Beware. I loved it. One thing that I did note in this match, though, so Riddle is using the Goldberg jackhammer, which is kind of cool. It's called the Bro Hammer. But anyway, in the middle of this match, and you check out the footage of it, I don't know if the ref wasn't paying attention or whatever, but that was an incredibly long 2 count on that particular one. I don't know if the guys weren't paying attention or whatever, but they were on the verge of ruining this one. Riddle could have possibly went over, but I was perfectly okay with this match. It was the right tempo. The guys seemed to have great chemistry. Finn Balor was selling the hell out of Matt Riddle stuff. I mean, the German suplexes, the Broton. I mean, every move was crisp and good, but they didn't go overboard. They didn't break out, 2,500 dives to the outside. They played
many
it crisp.
knee strikes?
Oh, there was tons of knee strikes.
Oh, yes.
But only one sling blade. So that's good.
Okay. All right. That's
yes. And I don't think there was any Canadian destroyers in this match.
No.
No, that
So
comes later.
So the AEW fans were pissed. I guarantee you.
-5 stars.
But yeah, I was perfectly fine with this match. Sheehan.
Yeah, it was a match. It was a good match. You couldn't have Balor lose his first match back. And beating Riddle was a pretty good statement.
What did you think of the finish?
I mean, it was, it really didn't do much for me either way. This match really wasn't. This wasn't the match that I started watching to see. It was okay. That's about it.
All right. Now we get to our main event. Team Ciampa. Keith Lee, Dominic Dijakovic, and eventually we would see the glorious return of Mr. NXT himself, Kevin Fight Owens.
Which they would screw up later on in this weekend. This whole twist and turn in the story goes to pot at Survivor Series.
Yeah. Versus the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, baby! Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. Look, they had a tall order in trying to do something different than what the girls did and do something better and really make this a memorable match for people to go home happy on. I think they largely succeeded in that. Some people may say, Kevin Owens' return kind of took the air out of the room. People were expecting Velveteen Dream or Johnny Gargano or John Morrison or Jesus or the Young Bucks or Joey Ryan. I don't know what people thought was going to happen, but it was Kevin Owens, and that's fine. I think there was this again. I know this is a foreign concept for most people, but this paid off a story point. He was challenged by Triple H, and there was a whole thing that happened on it was SmackDown or Raw, I don't remember which one. But so there he was, and it was fine. I think storyline-wise, it would have made more sense for it to be Velveteen Dream, but if he's not able to physically go at this time, then they needed to do something else that would make sense. This was a different story that they told with this one. This is like the one thing they didn't do in the girls' match was tables, as Bailey said before, and so this one was tables aplenty. Years ago, when I was first dating who would be my wife, I was telling Melissa, I said, let me tell you the universal rule of wrestling. He who sets it up goes through it. And, and as prophetic as that was, Adam Cole sets a table. I don't know why. Like I know why in real life, but storyline-wise, logically, he was like, let me put this table just so right here, and I went through it. It was like in another movie in another time, it's like, let me just put this gun in my mouth and see what happens. Oh, look, I've shot myself. These things happen. It's a small point, but it was a silly one nonetheless. This whole thing leads up to this circuit of tables breaking. And as cynical and as I am a wrestling fan, and for as long as I've been watching, boy, does it take a lot for me to react. The Dakota Kai thing, I laughed uproariously, but I laughed because I was like, oh my... I don't know how to react anymore when the WWE actually pulls off something good. Satisfying. So, like, that produced laughter because I don't know how else to show, like, appreciation for well-told story. And the circuit of tables breaking as they belt up to Tommaso Ciampa driving Adam Cole off the top of the cage through 2 tables, more on that in a second, I was screaming in my living room. Like, both my kids are looking at me, you know, like, it's the old cartoon where, like, my son and daughter are just holding up signs that says, like, Ding Bell, corny, you know, Bats in the Belfry. They didn't know what to make. Like, my son's looking at my wife like, what's wrong with Daddy? Because I'm sitting there going, oh, no, not Bobby Fish, through a table. No, not Kyle O'Reilly. Like, I'm, like, freaking out. You know, but I loved it. I love the fact that, like, this just built to a crescendo of our absurd cartoon violence. And then, and I have to talk about this in some degree of detail because a couple of months back, we did the TakeOver where at the end, it was a 2 out of 3 falls match, I believe. The cage match Suicide Pact.
The Suicide Pact. Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano.
Yes, where Johnny Gargano stood at the edge of a bridge, and they kissed, and they hugged, and they said forever, and jumped through a table.
That's when Aerosmith started to play.
Yes, that's right.
I remember that.
Yeah. You heard
Crazy,
don't
or
fall
Crying,
asleep.
or Amazing. Or
Yeah, one of those.
Something to get a grip.
Yes.
Yes.
Alicia
Also heard on Unspoken Issues.
right.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's your plug, Jesse.
Thank you, sir.
Alicia Silverstone, Liv Tyler dove through tables off the cage. That's a 90s reference, children. And I said at the time, and I will continue to say, that was the dumbest thing I'd ever seen. It looked so phony and so unrealistic, and there's no way to have made that look any better than it was. It was like they didn't know what to do, so they're like, well, what if we both jump off the cage? And oh, look, Adam Cole fell on Johnny Gargano by accident. Eye roll. Yeah. On the other hand, and I'm willing, and look, it's like a James Bond movie. If you go into it expecting it to be super realistic, I don't even know why you're there. You have to suspend disbelief to a point. So the fact that they were a little awkward on top of the cage in order to get in the right position to then finally do the last stunt, okay, I'll accept it if the stunt itself seems more or less realistic for the world of wrestling. And so Tommaso Ciampa had Johnny Gargano, like, cradled, basically. He held him ever so tightly, made sure his head was protected like a newborn, and then proceeded to jump off himself. And I'll accept the fact that Cole just let it happen. You know, it's like, if I do the wrong thing, I'm going to fall on my head. So do what you need to do, Ciampa. Okay, that's fine. That's wrestling. And then they did it. And I was so excited because I remembered how I felt when I saw the Suicide Pact act. And I was like, that's so dumb. And I'm like, that's how you do it, which is exactly what I wrote on Twitter. I was very excited. And it was great. It was brilliant. And again, the Undisputed Era has spent most of this year running roughshod over the NXT locker room. And this was sort of the big ending to that story. And now we can kind of turn the page and move on to other stuff. So I just thought it was brilliant, and I loved it, and I thought it was interesting. And this whole NXT card was kind of the highlight of the weekend for me, Chris Bailey.
Yeah, you're damn right about that. It was actually a move put on another wrestler and executed instead of the Suicide Pact. Someone actually intended to do harm to another person instead of both people convincing each other like Jim Jones drinking some Kool-Aid to jump off the cage. I don't know. So a couple points about this match. I mean, everybody wants to hear about it, and I'm going to break it down for you. Yes, Britt Baker was at ringside for the AEW invasion, and by God, they're ready to. That's going to be the big news story next week. It's definitely going to happen. I know it. AEW on NXT. It's happening next week. There, you can write it to the bank. Britt Baker. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I'm stunned. Anyway, on to more serious stuff. Kevin Owens So this guy looked motivated for the first time in 2 years coming out to that crowd, and the crowd ate the guy up. So I don't know where people were saying that there was crowd apathy towards him coming out as the mystery man, because I didn't see it at all. I thought they were super into the guy. Everything the guy did in the ring was over. Really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing Tommaso Ciampa return to his slime bag roots, though. I don't know, Tommaso, the good guy, the leader of the fray. I don't know how that really works long term. I did like his new gimmick with the mask and the hoodie and all that type of thing. That's a cool look for the what do they call him? The Psycho Killer.
Sure.
I think,
I think so.
Yeah. You guys missed that. And my favorite guy, and I can't leave this match alone without burying Donovan Dijakovic, which has more personality than a roll of toilet paper. This guy is just. He looks like a trainee. He looks like if you brought a trainee into the ring and said, "Here, execute a body slam." This is what you would expect.
He looks like somebody watched the heavyweight fight with Stipe Miocic and Dan Cormier and goes, "We need wrestlers that look like those two. Have you heard about Keith Lee and Dominic Dijakovic?" I mean,
yeah, no, hold on now. Keith Lee and Dijakovic had a great series of matches, but it's pretty clear now that Keith Lee dragged his miserable ass through those matches because left on his own devices, he is like rookie. Brutal. But anyway, I really loved this match. It was my favorite WarGames overall. I'd say my favorite WarGames match to date from NXT, probably. They just had so many great spots, and yes, there was a Canadian Destroyer, and yes, it was bad. Adam Cole was it Ciampa, I think?
No,
was
that
Kevin
Owens.
Yeah, Kevin Owens, yes, that's who it was. And he almost screwed it up. Owens tried twice to lift him over the back, and they did it in the middle of the ring. It didn't work. But overall, great finish. Team Ciampa won like almost 40 minutes into this thing, and I enjoyed every bit of it.
Sheehan.
I agree with everything you guys said, only I think the match was maybe a little bit too long. I feel like these WarGames matches, they really, really make them long, and I mean, there was action the whole way through, but I could have been done with it a little sooner than it was.
I think the big flaw with WarGames, Sheehan, is there's no elimination. So
yeah, it's all.
You know what I mean?
And the match doesn't even start until 20 minutes into the action. You know, it's
that was going to be what I was going to say. Is it's hard to shorten this thing up.
Yeah,
it's like look, what we need is a 20-minute Royal Rumble. Okay, then it's not the Royal Rumble.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's I'm asking for something that's not possible, but I got kind of fatigued, especially after the first one, which was also great, but it was just a lot of. I mean, it's weird to complain about a lot of wrestling on a wrestling show, especially a WWE show where half of it's recaps, but it just felt really long. I was happy with it, but just a little long for me.
Do you think? Because we're all kind of saying the same thing that this show was fantastic. Mm-hmm. I think if you were making like a general comment, we'd all say, "Hey, it was great. It was some of the best wrestling we've seen out of all the shows we've reviewed this year. It was one of the better ones." But do you think it suffers from the fact that the next night we had a 12-hour Survivor Series?
That's something I think they should probably alternate the TakeOver, as I know the whole reason for it was the piggyback, but now I think they make it their own thing. Now they might want to rethink that way of doing it, especially since it's the same crowd all 4 days too of these massive weekends, and
from a marketing,
just seems like a much.
No, and that's my point. And I think that's the problem. There's two different masters you're serving here with the WWE, and that's been my big criticism for them for years now. Is on the one hand, they have to sell tickets, and when the WWE comes to town for big events like the Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, and WrestleMania, not necessarily in that order, they
make an impact.
Yeah, they have actually a financial impact on those cities. And they get deals. Like, there's a reason why they're in the same city for like 5 days in a row. And they have all of these events. They actually get deals with the arenas and stadiums and whatnot. And so, like, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and sometimes the actual big event itself, sometimes not, sometimes it's in a stadium that's, like, right next door. They just take over for a week. And I think they're sold out almost the entire time. So on the one hand, you're guaranteed crowds, you're gonna sell tickets, and you're getting great deals from the facilities in the city to camp out there for a week. It's hard to say no to that.
Sure.
On the other hand, I'm with you from just a fan point of view. I could have lived with no Survivor Series this weekend.
Absolutely.
I needed a break after NXT. That was, that's like, you've rested for 5 minutes. Are you ready to go again? Where are you going?
It's like banging the hot chick 10 times. By the 10th round, you're done.
Yeah,
it's not as exciting anymore.
I need a sandwich.
Yeah, exactly.
You look like Britt Baker. Get out.
Last night was wonderful. Why are you still here? That's kind of how I feel with these NXT big event weekends. So that being said, I think we all agree that it'll be a little bit different with the Royal Rumble because that weekend they're not doing an NXT show. They're doing Worlds Collide, which is NXT versus NXT UK. Okay,
we need more brand supremacy storylines. That's something we need in this business.
I was going to ask, do you guys think that they will do something similar like this next year, where we have NXT involved in Survivor Series, just like we did this year? Because I really feel for the performers, the NXT performers who have to go out there on Saturday night and then go out there again on Sunday night. I mean, I imagine that's as careful as you want to be in these matches. I'm sure it takes its toll. Obviously, Saturday night had to have taken its toll.
Adam Cole's going to die at 60. This weekend.
Listen, just think about what we're saying, guys. You're talking about these guys having to work 2 nights back to back. Hogan and Flair in the 80s are just shaking their head going, hold my beer.
Yeah.
Hogan's like, I was home once in 10 years.
2 nights back to back. I worked 3 shows in 1 night, you slapdicks.
Yeah.
In 3 different towns.
3 different continents.
Bill Watts is like, you're all pussies. Get those mats out of there. Oh, Bill Watts, we love you. Anyway, so I wanted to just kind of throw this out there with the whole Worlds Collide thing and answer your question, Jesse. I think they will, but not for the reason they did it this time. They did it this time because they've got this show going up against AEW, and it was getting less than 1 million views.
Okay.
And they needed to do something to make it worthwhile to continue to get the money that they were getting from USA Network to put it on there in the first place. So a lot of people are calling Survivor Series basically an NXT marketing event. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. There's no argument about that. Will they do it again next year? Yeah, because now they've done it. Now they were like, we've set a precedent that Survivor Series is brand warfare. Which I don't know about you guys, but in the 120 T-shirts that I have, which I found out today, I have a T-shirt problem. Half of which are now wrestling shirts. I can't tell you how many brand shirts I've got, how many We Are NXT and Raw and I have none. Contrary to popular opinion in the WWE management, I'm not a fan of brands.
Nonpartisan.
I like NXT, but I like NXT because the guy's on the roster, not because of, not because it's called.
You don't like the gold letters, yeah.
Sure, and the romantic mood lighting at Full Sail. No, I'm not a fan. So yeah, like I said, I think it'll be slightly different, and then NXT gets its own pay-per-view in February in Portland, which I'm much more preferable to. And we're going to get it again with WrestleMania, though. The NXT will do their show WrestleMania weekend, and then I'm sure a bunch of them will end up being on the actual WrestleMania card like they were with Survivor Series. What are you going to do? Anything you want to add to that, Bailey or Sheehan?
Really enjoyed the show overall. Thumbs way up. I think they paced themselves quite well. They didn't have every single match wasn't, a Tokyo Dome show. So, I mean, I was just pleased overall. And especially that women's match at the beginning. Man, it was fantastic.
4 matches in a pre-show, like in 2019.
All it needs to be.
It wasn't 1 o'clock in the morning when it was over and you had to catch an Uber in the cold. It was nice.
Exactly.
All right. From the sublime to the ridiculous, Here we go. Survivor Series. Nigel, you ready?
Oh, yes, please. Let's go. Continue. I'm sorry. I'm reading the internet, please.
Mamma mia! Oh, sorry. I just overstepped you.
Hey, we have an ROH champion and a Hall of Famer here. What's going on? What's going on here?
I quit.
Don't delete your Twitter, though.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about this pre-show. I'm not going to lie. I missed the first 2 matches, and I wasn't going back. I did not care.
Don't worry. I watched it for you.
Yeah.
And me.
I
Yeah.
did see the Viking Raiders, the New Day, and Red Dragon. The Undisputed Era. Sorry. So, Bailey, go ahead and just sum up the first 2 for me. The stupid tag team battle royal, and then Leo Rush versus...
I'll give you the 10-second tidy on these things.
Okay.
We definitely do not need to spend time on this.
Okay.
So, Breezango versus Street Profits versus Ryder and Hawkins, who they say on commentary are lucky to still be working with the company.
Wow. Wow.
Versus Lucha House Party versus Imperium versus Heavy Machinery versus Rude and Ziggler, which if you could tell me what brand they're on, I don't know, but apparently they're on SmackDown right now, versus the OC, and versus the Forgotten Sons versus the Revival. Now, I forgot the Forgotten Sons were even in the match. I saw one guy being dragged out, didn't realize he was in the entire match. It was an over-the-top battle royal for the Tag Team World Cup trophy. Rude and Ziggler won. There was a whole lot of nothing. It was a standard battle royal. I have no idea what their plans are for putting Rude and Ziggler over. Heavy Machinery did their work. We had some Street Profits action. We had the strippers in Breezango there. Revival just looked like secondhand news, and Rude and Ziggler won. So they are they the cup holders now? The World Tag Team Cup holders? I would assume so. Nobody cares.
I hope the trophy doesn't disintegrate on them on the way home.
NXT Cruiserweight Triple Threat match, another Triple Threat match, which I can't stand. This one was pretty damn good. Leo Rush, Kalisto, and Akira Tozawa. You had Mr. Leo Rush win by pinfall after he hit the final hour. And there wasn't much of anything. It was your standard AEW match, just with a bunch of flip-de-doos and blop-de-doos and all that kind of stuff. And Akira Tozawa hits that amazing senton bomb, which I don't care what anybody says, it's the best in the business. But not a big lot to say with that. Now you went on to the third match, which was New Day versus Undisputed Era versus the shitty Viking Raiders in the Battle of the Tag Team Champions. So we had. The stupid Viking Raiders win this one again. I just don't get this team at all. One interesting thing that I will call out on this whole thing, the New Day, when they did an interview, they had a little bit... You can see that they're either somebody else is writing the script or they're doing this intentionally, but they're saying, don't forget about us. We are, we're the guys who set this place on fire. We're still the most popular tag team that ever was. So... I think there's a little manipulation going on here with the New Day. I think we're going to go dirty very, very soon. Undisputed Era, we're just in this one to basically do bumps for these two big goon teams, you know what I mean? And Viking Raiders win with the power slam. There's nothing else to say about this. Move on. We're on to the main card, by God.
Oh, let me give Sheehan an opportunity here. Anything on these first 3 matches?
I did not see them.
Sweet. Nigel?
Neither did I, Mark Radulich.
Terrific. All right. I believe
It wasn't
Bailey's...
included in the torrent. Oh, wait a minute.
I will.
On the network. The network.
That's what I meant. Yes.
$10.99.
Neither confirm nor deny that I downloaded that illegally.
Once again, the first women's match is one of the best matches on the card in terms of psychology.
Oh, come on. You're biased here.
And
Rhea
giving
Ripley.
you something
Come
different. No.
Okay.
No,
I'm just pushing your buttons. Go ahead.
Well, no, because here's the thing. On the one hand, the work itself was a bit clunky, and I did mention that on Twitter. I said, this wasn't as smooth as I think you're going to see with the men who are used to doing these. Most of the guys in the men's matches have done, like, elimination chambers and, other Survivor Series matches. They're used to it. A lot of the women, especially the women whose sum total of wrestling experience was their time in NXT, aren't used to doing matches like this. I really think it's unfair to be like, okay, have you ever done a 5-on-5 elimination style team match? No? Terrific. Here's 15. Knock yourselves out. So I think you're great on a curve with this one. That being said, I love the fact that people are protected and they do different things, and it isn't just boom, eliminate this person, boom, eliminate that person, like the men did. There was a streak of shitty eliminations. Hello, Walter. And we'll get to that in a second. Yeah. We're not having fun anymore, guys. I like the fact that they took out the two girls who just broke their ass last night, Candice LeRae and Io Shirai. They took them out like an injury angle, and lo and behold, when things, when the chips were down and Rhea Ripley was in trouble, they came back out and helped her win. And so Sasha Banks still looks strong because it took chicanery and 3 women to beat her. Charlotte still looks strong because God forbid we make Charlotte look weak, because Asuka betrayed her and Muda misted her in the face, which is awesome, by the way.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I could watch. Frankly, I could watch an hour of Asuka misting all over Charlotte, but let's not kink shame.
Let's not kink shame. All right.
The Io Shirai Kairi Sane face-offs were just fantastic. And my other favorite part of this was Carmella during that entire thing going, "What about me? I pay attention to me, God damn it!"
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, boy, did she get lost in the shuffle.
That was good stuff. So overall, look. You watch a lot of wrestling. I joked that this was 12 hours. This was a 5-hour card from soup to nuts, and you throw another 2.5 hours on top of this, like 8 hours of wrestling in 2 days. You can't just do moves. You know what I mean? It can't just be, even if it's not flip-de-doos and you have like good, strong working arm psychology. Even that, after no breaks and not and no time in between, it just gets to you after a while. Like I've it's just gonzo porn. It's just the same thing over and over and over. And after a while, you're just like, I don't want to see a naked person for another month. So it all goes back to porn with me, or metal, one of the two. So with that setup, Bailey, porn and metal, go.
I like both. Anyway, like you said, interesting how they frame the NXT. So NXT won this match. They won with not outside interference, because technically the two girls were eliminated, so they came back in, and they actually put Sasha Banks in the sympathetic face role, which is sort of weird. And it happened again in the next match. So they're painting NXT's win of this entire spoilers of this entire thing with cheap wins. So I mean, you had with Roderick Strong and the other match coming up after it, it's the same type of deal. So they're getting these sneaky wins, like NXT shouldn't be defeating our core brands. You know what I mean? They're sending a message. Another oddity as well was that Rhea Ripley was really playing into the face role, which I really don't like. What happened to the the kick-ass road warrior type cyber bitch, you know what I mean? What happened to her? Like, she seems that now she's like Superface, and she's helping Candice LeRae, and I know it's Survivor Series, and I know it's a role change and all that stuff because it's interbrand and all that supremacy's on the line, but let's keep consistency in the characters. Another thing,
can I offer this? Yeah. NXT exists in a parallel universe.
You're exactly right. It's Crisis on WWE Earths, and they are like Earth. God knows what Earth these people would be in.
So on Earth 2, where NXT exists, Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley hate each other and have been feuding. On Earth 1, they're buddies, and they're giggling at the other girls.
Exactly right.
Hold on.
Yeah, really like this match, though. I will say that there was a lot of good in there. You had a lot of people getting eliminated. Can anyone remember how Dana Brooke got eliminated? No,
I don't remember she was in the match.
Yes, she was. How about Sarah Logan, who should be the manager of the Viking Warriors, by the way, with her Viking look?
Why
does this not happen? What's that?
I think she's married to one of them, isn't she?
Isn't this like, is this just not basic booking 101?
Yeah.
Like, would you not do this?
No, they're going to make a cuckold angle. she's gonna be with the Street Profits.
I think we had 2 of those going on, and they didn't work out either. Man, you actually had one cuckold angle like fall on its face when it came to oh my god,
the Canellises.
Yes, the Canellises. So that was so bad that they redid it again with Bobby Lashley and
Mike
Rusev.
Kanellis. We're gonna tell a story where Ricochet is banging your wife. Can I just get released? We're gonna pay you shit tons of money. I'll go work for Ring of Honor. Wait, what?
Hole in that storyline, you know what the hole in that storyline was? Is that Ricochet was banging none of them but himself. That's all I'll say. There you go. Moving on.
Sheehan,
boy.
hit it.
I know I watched this match, and a lot of what you guys are saying is reminding me that I watched this match, but I don't remember anything else from it.
Okay.
It really didn't stick with me. Yeah, I know NXT won. I know that they got the biggest pop coming out. And that's about it.
All right, Nigel.
Okay, so really the only note that I had on here was similar to what Bailey had already talked about, how, the NXT was supposed to be, at least according to the crowd, they were cheering NXT most of the time because they wanted to see the underdog get the victory throughout this whole Survivor Series. And then it really did feel like these 3 NXT representatives were heels at the end of this match. And I was like, okay, am I supposed to be rooting for him or am I not supposed to be? Because I'm not rooting for Sasha Banks. Sorry, and it's just the way it was. But I did like the storytelling that happened in the latter part of the match specifically, because a lot of the people, unfortunately, I don't watch enough NXT to really know all the names and everybody's maneuvers. So, but towards the end, I was getting into it and enjoyed it. I didn't mind the finish, but I think it could have been better. I guess it was a decent opener.
Okay.
I definitely wouldn't have put it later in the card. I think it was right where it belonged. It was a decent opener to my torrent.
You got your money's worth, is what you're saying.
There you go.
Yar, Jesse, the video pirate. All right, look, maybe I have some biases, but like I said, given what we're going to see in the next match and some of the matches beyond that, I think I just like a fun story, and I'm not necessarily as interested in work, and I know I've said that before, and this had more story than some of the other ones. That's just my opinion.
Okay, I can see that.
Speaking of matches with no stories, Roderick Strong defeated AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura in your work rate triple threat match of the night in 16 minutes and 45 seconds. If you like guys doing moves and crisp, clean, slick wrestling, I guess this one's for you, Bailey.
It's definitely not for me, brother. I don't know who you're talking to. When Roderick Strong wins a match at Survivor Series in almost 20 minutes, 17 minutes, I guess. I'll give him 3 minutes. I don't know. This is not excitement personified here by any means. I mean, you had 3 different champions, U.S. versus North American champion versus Intercontinental champion. This should be consequential. I will say all guys brought their stuff to the game. I mean, Nakamura looked probably, stiffer than he did at any point in the past 6 months. He seemed motivated. He seemed that Roderick Strong was a good dance partner introduced between, AJ Styles has gotten himself into this little lull where he's just in a vacuum by himself, and I think he's just falling lower and lower and lower on the popularity card. I mean, fans seem like they want to give up on him, you know what I mean? You had Nakamura, he gave Strong to go to sleep, and they had a little CM Punk chant. Now, should we have a little CM Punk chant at all right now with CM Punk back in the company? The answer is no, because
especially
they
not in
dropped
Chicago.
No, they completely blew his return. That's another podcast by itself.
Wow.
And that one. But then you had Roderick Strong pull off the win after AJ hits the phenomenal forearm, knocking out Nakamura. And Strong just basically slides AJ Styles out of the ring and takes the pin. It's
Let me tell you something. Cesaro is probably the best example of what happens when you try real hard in the WWE, but management doesn't care.
Yep.
And I think that there are guys that are now getting hip to the jive, where there's no benefit to killing yourself in the WWE. The fans won't pay attention. And even if they do, management still won't push you.
Yep.
You have the occasional Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 situations. You have the occasional situation where like fans are just now hijacking the show and demanding somebody, but those are few and far between. For the most part, the work rate guys, like Ricochet will always be on TV because he's good for a train wreck, but that's it. That's all he's ever going to be. And I think when you're 40 years old and you're getting WWE money, you're like, I just have to show up and not kill anyone, and I'll get paid, and they'll think I'm fine, and just collect your kids' college money, do what you're told, don't kill anyone, and Vince will love you, and that's it. And it's like, so, and then you have Roderick Strong, whose gimmick is he's in the Undisputed Era. That's it. That's all there is to that guy.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a good worker and everything, but again, it's not always just about work. There's nothing more to him other than he gets to be with the other three guys in the Undisputed Era. So, it's two guys that have figured out the game in the WWE, and one guy who's more beige than Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I mean, literally, you could literally stick the red light and the championship belt, and you name the Red Rooster gimmick, and the 3 world titles on Roderick Strong, and he could not get over at all. I mean, do you think Vince McMahon even knew Roderick Strong was in this match? Let alone
he thought that was Chad Gable.
Absolutely. Shorty G was in this match. Shorty G got the win.
Why is Shorty G out there? Where did that ugly belt come from? Vince, that's the North American title. What's North America? All right. Sheehan, go.
A lot of what you guys said. This is there were no stakes to the, and that's, outside of the brand supremacy, TM copyright, whatever the hell, there was really nothing to like. Why are these people so proud of what color shirt they wear? Especially since we just had the brand split, we just had the draft. AJ's been on Raw for like 20 minutes. Nakamura's been on SmackDown for Why are they so protective of their brand? And why? And that doesn't translate to a non-story match between 3 champions who none of their titles are on the line. So who cares who wins? They had Strong win it by stealing the pin. They're cheered as baby faces. They're winning like heels. They're like the work rate NWO right now. It's hard to really invest. The match did go a bit long, and that's like my prime complaint about a lot of these 2 shows we're talking about here is that the matches were very long, and that's about it. Really, not a whole heck of a lot more to say. The moves were all nice, but they just went for too long.
Yeah, Jesse.
I feel like this was just a way for them to get another notch on the NXT, and that was about it. I mean, the only person we didn't have a chance to talk about and I'll briefly mention him, and that's Sami Zayn and his interpretive dance skills. So that's about it, though. I mean, did have my first note of Nigel McGuinness yelling into the microphone, and that continues for the rest of the night. But yeah, I mean, it was an okay match. The other note that I had, I think there was a point where Nakamura got nailed with a knee strike from Strong, and I like the way that Nakamura sells. I just think that, he just completely goes limp and is bent backwards. But, as you guys said, there didn't feel like this was filled with stakes in this match. Who gives a crap? Why do these guys care? It was just a match, and, as far as matches goes, it was fine. I enjoyed watching it. That was about it.
This event needed packages from people on Raw explaining why they're the A show. SmackDown's just a bunch of guys. that Fox executives picked. They're not the good athletes, and NXT is your training brand. And SmackDown needed to do packages and promos about how Raw is a thing of the past. It's been around since the 90s. It's a fucking dinosaur. Nobody cares. That SmackDown is what everyone watches. SmackDown was what everyone watched when it was on UPN. You know, SmackDown is the one that everyone thinks of when they think of wrestling, and it's where the stars are. And NXT is just a training brand. And NXT needed to do a promo where you're all a bunch of fucking sellout fakes with no edge. You're just a bunch of circles and globes. We're the future. We're the best out there, you know, and we're going to come to your shows and drive you all off television, like buffalo over a cliff. Okay, now I'm somewhat interested. At least now there's an identity to what's going on here, other than, you know, what was really the situation of, well, what are we going to do to get people to watch NXT, because we're being embarrassed by the guy doing shin kicks and, you know, Dick Flips is a different show.
Yeah, wait a second.
We're being embarrassed by the guy that used to be Stardust. So that's it. I mean, like, it's simple stuff like that, and I feel like if I'm figuring out, and I'm just some dude with a podcast, how did people miss this in the professional wrestling company? Or am I wrong? With that, I don't know. Would that have interested you, Bailey, if they had done it that way?
No, sir.
Okay, still wouldn't have cared. Okay, got it. Would anyone have cared had they actually done some packages talking about why their brand was the best?
Well, yes, you know what? In all honesty, yes, you got to literally. Well, they did do packages. They tried to set up that 2.5 hour pre-show with all kinds of interviews and all that type of thing. So they dodged the packages, but they did interviews, and they tried to say, why are you, in this match, blah 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 blah. So I thought they over-packaged the shit out of it. It's just that the show that they put the packages on, nobody watched.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a day late and $1 short. They might as well put it on AEW Dark, for that matter.
Exactly. Just put the damn thing on YouTube or Daily Motion.
My God, fucking NWA Power, where Jim Cornette made an off-color joke, got more views than the pre-show did, I'm sure.
Woo!
Anybody want to weigh in here? Or otherwise, we're going to move on to the next match. Sheehan? Or Jesse, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, are we going to revisit the results of this later on down the road in Raw, SmackDown, NXT? Are they going to be talking about how NXT was victorious?
For 1 week, they will do that.
That's exactly right. Yep. 1 week is what they will do, and then they'll move on to the next thing. There should be some stakes or something like, hey, you guys won this. Here's what you get. So-and-so gets a title shot or whatever. Just something. But, all we have right now are just numbers. So
I think this is where you give rings out, where someone wins a Super Bowl.
Okay.
The actual celebratory ring, like we won the Survivor Series. I think there needs to be a trophy or something to say that, yeah, we won the Survivor Series, similar to a Hall of Fame ring. I think that would be just something that would be pretty cool. It came from Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes actually replaced for a short time the ROH World Championship with the ROH World Championship ring, and that was kind of cool. So
Seth Rollins needed to get on Raw and call Adam Cole a vanilla midget.
Yes.
Oh, man. Chairs would have been thrown in the ring. It would have been crazy.
Sheehan, I'm going to give you the last word on the subject, then we're moving on. You got anything?
There should have been something to fight for. Even if it's something like, you get the main event slot at Royal Rumble or something. It's like, if you win, your brand gets the main event slot at some big show. It's like, so you're all fighting to be that show closing match. Doesn't matter who's going to be in the match, but it'll be your brand, So then you can actually move into other stories where for the next several months these people are fighting to be in that top match at this top show. It just adds another layer to. It almost tells the story for you. It gives the the slate of 50,000 Skate 800 writers WWE has a break. They don't have to plan which segments go when at that case, but. There just really needed to be something worth bragging about. And, they had that pay-per-view that was called Bragging Rights back in the day. And it's like Jesse said, it's going to be this 1 week where Seth Rollins is going to call everybody geeks, and NXT will celebrate, and then it's just like, okay, well, let's build to the next show now. That's in the past.
I'm guessing none of you guys watched Raw then, because that's exactly what happened.
Oh no, I did.
It is exactly what happened.
Yeah, it took me about 3 or 4 tries to get through Raw, but I did get through it today. So yeah, it was a bit much.
I actually enjoyed that. Listen, you're all terrible. I don't mean it. I'm just saying you all stink. Well, look, it's coming from a nice place.
I'm coming from a good place, yeah.
It's so good. Like the best I've ever seen Seth Rollins at anything other than being in the Shield. All right. Speaking of vanilla midgets, Adam Cole, baby, defeated British Strong Styles Pete Dunne for the NXT Championship. And they rolled Adam Cole out in his wheelchair, and he got in there with his walker, and he hit Pete Dunne with his cane, and he won the match in 14 minutes and 10 seconds. Oh God, what is the one move that they did where I thought they killed one another? This was the one with the Canadian Destroyer to the
ring apron.
To the ring apron, where my wife was actually still out in the living room for that one, and I looked at her, I'm like, well, they've killed Pete Dunne.
No more joint manipulation for you, sir.
Someone had to be sacrificed, I guess. I don't know. Like a goat to slaughter. Canadian Destroyer to the fucking ring apron. Ugh.
Jesus.
It was fine. You know, again, I don't want to. We went a little long the last couple of segments here, so I'll just say, and I'll kick it to you guys. Adam Cole can wrestle. Adam Cole has charisma. Pete Dunne, I talked about him already. They put on the match that everyone knows that they can put on, and Adam Cole won. I mean, water is wet and the sky is blue. Bailey?
You said it, man. This is like I said, this is filler. It's actually filler, believe it or not, when you have Adam Cole and Pete Dunne. They're doing a filler match here. I mean, Panama Sunrise and the last shot for the win, and you had Cole go over. I mean, finger manipulation, a couple good spots. Very serviceable match. Nothing to jump up and down about, though. And NXT gets the win again.
I don't think this counted towards the...
Oh, yeah, right. But they still did.
They also got a loss, though.
Yes.
That's true.
It
actually negated themselves. Look at that. You're right.
Canceled out.
That was a zero-sum match, sir.
Oh, that's funny.
That's awesome.
Christian.
It was the red light that blinded me from seeing that.
Oh, God.
Now the Potato Man couldn't get the job done, so this was filler, like you guys said. I'm actually just trying to refresh myself here, and I'm looking at a recap. It's like Cole steps on Dunn's hand, but Dunn goes for his fingers. Like everything is these damn fingers. I just can't do it. I want to like this guy so much more than I actually do because of all the damn finger crap. But Potato Man couldn't get the job done. That's about it.
Yeah, both competitors come into this obviously injured from the previous night, and at first I thought Pete Dunne was a bearded woman. I was quickly corrected.
He does look like one.
I was like, wait a second. And there was a show of emotion there when Pete, I think he just tried everything he could do to pin Adam Cole. Adam Cole kicks out at like 2 3/4, and he just looks like he's crying. He looks like he's bawling for a second there. And then, of course, we get the great finish there. But, yeah, I mean, hey, it was an NXT. It wasn't a top NXT match like you would expect from these two guys. I think a lot of that is because they were obviously taking it easy compared to the previous evening. But
they're showing restraint, Jesse, in booking.
There you go.
So that's good.
That's good.
And now we come to it.
Oh, boy.
The Fiend. Bray Wyatt, your Universal Champion with a shiny blue belt, versus
old Mr. Power Fingers,
Daniel Bryan. 10 minutes and 10 seconds. This match was probably 9 minutes and 10 seconds too long. Yeah. Look, these guys put on a fine match. I like the fact that it was short. I actually would have been okay with a 10-minute match, given that I think Bray Wyatt works best right now and just killing guys quickly and getting it over with. Here's my issue. Like, I'm all for the WWE going, The Undertaker's 106 years old. But this worked for a really, really long time. What if...
The gimmick is lifeless. Well, wait a second. Yeah, it is lifeless, and it's eternal.
What if we made another Magic character who doesn't sell anything other than toys and masks and whatnot? Nothing in the ring, mind you. He doesn't sell anything in the ring, and he's magical, and he'll capture the imaginations of our target audience, which is kids. Okay, I'm with you so far. I like it. I get the marketing aspect behind it. I get that The Undertaker worked. Why not try a newer, more hipper, updated version of The Undertaker? I like the fact that you're doing it with Bray Wyatt. I think Bray Wyatt tries hard. I think he's a creative guy. I think he's talented. I've said before, my biggest problem with Bray Wyatt was they tried this once, and they buried Bray Wyatt under a pile of Undertaker and John Cena and everybody else. So it was hard to believe that suddenly he was invulnerable. But whatever, I got over it. But now, despite all of that, and despite the good things they're doing with Bray Wyatt, the genuinely good things they're doing with this character, they insist on all of his matches have to be at a club with fucking black light. Only, red light. This is where the WWE, goes into retard thinking. And it's like, what if we do this? Yeah, that's a good idea. What if we go do this? What if we go this? And they go way too far, and nobody stops them. There's nobody in the room. This is stuff I talk about with AEW, where it's like there's no adult in the room saying no, you've gone too far, pull it back. But where AEW, their version of gone too far is, what if we did a 450 splash off the Eiffel Tower? Into a bucket of water. Was that be okay? Sure, go do it. Make sure you're dressed up though in cosplay when you do. Where the WWE is like, well, he's magical, so what if he wrestled in a red light that nobody can see the match then, and it looks shit on television, and nobody says no, and it's like, I sometimes just give up with this company. I guess I'll just those are the moments where I'm on my phone, I'm on Twitter. I'm doing something else. I'm playing with my kids. Just anything to not have to look at that stupid fucking light. Daniel Bryan takes a beating. Great, cool. I'm glad you came back, Bryan. You've been great this third time around. Bailey.
Yeah, man. So I'm a little bit more optimistic than you are about this match. I like that there was a little bit of a reference to the history between the Wyatt family and Bryan, because Bryan was their slave at one point. So they did acknowledge that little bit of that nugget for continuity's sake.
That was good. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I also like the fact that Daniel Bryan can actually sell for the guy, so he doesn't look like just this idiot just rolling around on the mat doing barely any moves, which is basically the Fiend's biggest weakness. Because I tell you what, as bad as that light is, you turn that fucking light on, and I'm telling you right now, you've got a stupid show going on here. You got fat guy in a mask and striped pants. That's exactly what this would be if that light came on.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it is, man. Because I'm telling you, they've got an illusion set up here with this character that the red light is, presents the drama, it presents his character. And if you take that away suddenly, now you got fat guy in a mask.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, that'll be the end of this gimmick. I'm telling you right now.
So Paul Bearer used to chase The Undertaker with an urn that gave him magic powers.
Fair.
I mean, maybe give Bray Wyatt a new costume and an urn then. I don't know. I can't deal with the light.
New costume needs to happen, and I think he needs a family of some sort. And I think he's got the Firefly Funhouse characters. I think they can easily translate into actual characters. I know it sounds stupid, but I'm telling you could really pull that off with a Five Nights at Freddy's type vibe. I think you could have going on there.
Oh no, I'm all into this idea. Please put Luke Harper in a fucking buzzard outfit.
Yes. Yes, I'm telling you, I'm still waiting for Sister Abigail. They need to bust that gimmick out. Somebody needs to get Rosemary from TNA and stick her in that gimmick. I'm telling you right now. Anyway, the match itself, perfectly fine. The Fiend actually pins Daniel Bryan with the mandible claw and the shoulders to the mat. Not much else to say. I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm annoyed by the red light, but I don't want to see it turned on. I got to be honest with you.
Sheehan?
You took all my arguments there, man. I was going to say just about the same thing, but I was going to call him a fat juggalo. But you know, like you said, you take away that light, and it's just really silly. And I mean, I haven't seen Wyatt actually wrestle in quite a while, so I mean, I don't know. I can't remember how good he was. So to see Brian sell for things that might not look that great might not have been in anybody's best interests. That said, I did enjoy Brian taking the beating. I did enjoy him, you know, starting to come back with the yes chance again. They've in history they've like actually with Wyatt a couple of times they always had him like do the thing where he's gonna make you, like with John Cena, he was gonna make him embrace the hate, and then Kane did like the same story like 2 years later, and it never works. But this whole time, he's been goading him to go back to the yes stuff. And, you know, when the chips were down, he started doing it. And I thought that was a really cool thing. I also was a fan of the continuity between the two of them being brought up because it's an odd time where WWE actually, like, expects the fans to remember something instead of, like, pushing it further under the rug. I thought that was a nice zig instead of a zag. But didn't see anything wrong with the match. It wasn't over long, and I mean, you can't beat Wyatt yet, so it went as well as it could have, I guess.
Who else used to feud with Daniel Bryan that came out to a red light every once in a while? Didn't wrestle on a red light. None other than Kane. Speaking of Mr. Power Fingers, Daniel Bryan, my notes are as such. Okay, this is the first time I actually got to experience a match in the red light. So I don't know if I've seen any previous matches with the Fiend. My next note is I bet that mask stinks. I'm sure that mask probably reeks really bad. And then, of course, we get the mandible claw finish there, which was pretty cool. But other than that, you know, I had no doubt in my mind that the Fiend was going to go over. I didn't think Bryan had a chance, even if we had the yes movement on his side. I still think that the Fiend is quite the force that the WWE is not going to give up on. I'm curious as to who they're going to put in front of him to actually seem like a challenge, because this guy is, I don't know, he's mega over. He's got the whole Undertaker gimmick going to where he's got this fear. The only person I could see him possibly, it'll be Lesnar at some point. That's the only thing I can think of. They're both on the.
It'll be Roman Reigns. He's on SmackDown.
That's what I was going to say. Are they on the? See that's where things fall apart for me.
A few months ago, I had to put money on Balor as the Demon to come back and smite the Fiend eventually. Okay. But I don't think that's the direction they're going to go now.
No, yeah. I think Roman Reigns is going to win the Royal Rumble, and then he's going to fight Bray Wyatt at SummerSlam, and I hope it goes on last because then I can get my kids home.
All right, that's all I got to say.
I hear everything you guys are saying, and I get it. I can't do the red light. I'm sorry. Like figure something. Make him wrestle in a burqa. I don't fucking care. Put a turban on his head.
Thank you, Jim Cornette. You're fired.
I don't
resigned.
Put him in a muumuu. Give him like curlers. I don't give a shit. Just stop with the red light already. At some point, this is about production and how things look. You're at, like, I don't know when the last time you guys went to a live wrestling event was, that, like, not like an indie thing, but like a basketball or arena, or God help us, a football stadium. If you're, you know, could you imagine, like, you paid money for fucking Hell in the Cell, and then they don't put the lights on, and it's this red light. You're like, what the fuck am I going to split? What the fuck am I looking at?
Yeah, listen, man, we were at WrestleMania 33, and they had the women's triple threat match starting, and they shone the blue light on our area of the fans, and we could not see the entire match and part of the next match. So I'm all about disliking lights, sir.
Fabulous. All right. Speaking of ridiculous, your men's team of Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, All Hail King Corbin, Captain Lightbright, and Chad Gable, your 2012 Olympic champion. Okay, what did I call him on Twitter? It was Olympic something or other. It's a very
Is he the lineal Olympic champion?
He's the fucking lineal champion.
Here we go.
Not calling him Shorty G, goddammit. I'm not letting this go now. I gotta find. There it is.
Oh no.
Okay, so once again, take two. Roman Reigns. You'll fix this in post, right, Eddie? Right, Jesse?
Eddie's on top of it. Huh? Production
Eddie.
manager Eddie's all on top of it.
Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, King Corbin, Captain Lightbright, and Chad Gable, U.S. Olympic Trials Champion 2012, versus Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, and Batwoman, versus Tommaso Ciampa, Damian Priest, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, and poor, God help him, Walter.
Ugh.
Walter is so cool, and people love him, and we're just fucking throw the babies in the air happy when he won the NXT UK title. And then his most recent title defense at the last UK TakeOver, people were like, match of the year. Just fantastic. Like, it's so good. And then he walks out there, and it just feels like, who let the special ed kid in the fucking match? Like, he's fucking the first one eliminated by goddamn Drew McIntyre, for God's sakes.
Yeah. This is a thing that I've seen WWE do with many a big guy, though, in the past. I can remember Braun being like, this guy's going to be way over, and then all of a sudden he gets eliminated by some bullshit. So this didn't seem too out of character for me.
Yeah, it was the Samoa Joe spot. You know, you get the big pop and you're out first, and people are just not knowing why we even wasted the time investing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I have this like feeling that they wrote the match one way for Triple H, and then Triple H went to go to the bathroom or something, and like Vince just had somebody lock him in the bathroom. He was like, "All right, he's in the bathroom. Eliminate Walter. Get this fat fuck out of my ring." Why? God damn. So yeah, that was disheartening. Your winner was Roman Reigns. LOL. One of the podcasts I listened to, one of the guys on it, and I like them, and I don't want to run them down or anything, but they addressed the Roman Reigns wins LOL thing, which of course was adapted from Cena wins LOL, and they were like, "Oh, what are you gonna do? Beat him?" Yes, that's exactly what you do. Roman Reigns will be fine. This was a perfect opportunity to put somebody else over, but it's like, that's the argument you make in every other match, but then Roman Reigns is somehow the exception. Like, get the fuck out of here. I'm so over like the Roman Reigns stuff. Like, I'm dying for this era to pass, where we're no longer pushing the Shield guys anymore, and we're moving on to new people, and we can just kind of forget this decade ever happened. So anyway, but yeah, Keith Lee came out looking really strong. Good for Keith Lee and Chris Bailey.
Oh boy! So I'll keep this short, but yeah, Walter being knocked out in the first couple minutes was definitely a shocker for me. Like, literally, like, what's the point? You know what I mean? You had Mr. Shorty G.
Nope.
Yeah, I know. But well, anyway, let's talk about Ricochet and his finger banging for a second. So he was dressed up as
ass blaster.
He looked like he was Batgirl or Batwoman.
Yes.
I mean, I think the idea was that he was supposed to be Batman Beyond, according to online, but he was definitely more Batwoman than Batman Beyond in this particular instance. I mean, we had people that I bet you can't even tell me how they were eliminated. Like, someone tell me how Damian Priest went out in this match. You can't.
Who was in the match?
Mustafa Ali. Nobody cares. There's so much that's inconsequential here. You had Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman get counted out again. Does this man get pinned or submitted? No, he gets counted out at every major pay-per-view again.
Biggest opponent ever, the referee.
Yep.
Biggest opponent ever. Math.
I did like some of the I did like some of the eliminations, though. I will say Corbin beating Matt Riddle was pretty cool. Getting the end of days out of nowhere, I thought that was pretty cool. Outside of that, I mean, really, when you talk about it, Keith Lee, I think him showing up in the end with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and he actually eliminated Seth Rollins, man, I popped for that. And then just the camera shot. It's just these little details that WWE does that sets them apart from like crap like AEW. They do this long shot, and they have Roman Reigns, and he's outside the ring or sitting in the corner, and he's battered. And you got big Keith Lee, and this guy has just hulked up, and he's got devil in his eyes, man. And you're just like, yeah, like this guy looks like the Hulk. This guy is like the Hulk. You know what I mean? And fans were behind him. Fans were into it. And man, he sold the crap out of that spear by Roman Reigns. I was all about the ending to this match. I got to say, it really redeemed itself. Mostly inconsequential, but Keith Lee was the big winner out of this one. I don't even care if Roman Reigns won. Keith Lee was the story of this one. I enjoyed it.
So my wife is sitting there next to me during this one. She's like, "Hey, who's the asshole with that thing on his face?" And and I was like, "Oh," and I told her it was Mustafa Ali. And I took a beat. I'm like, "I could have told you that was Captain Lightbright, and you'd have believed me, right?" She was like, "Yup." Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Sheehan.
Walter's loss really sucked the wind out of the out of my room, but
It did.
The match did come back around. Ricochet's face annoys me. Everything about Ricochet annoys me. He comes out and he does that like little dance, like where he like puts his hand up in the air.
Ugh.
It annoys me.
Look at his face.
Oh goodness!
Ricochet versus Kenny Omega in a Jazz Hands of Vaudeville off.
Oh, wow.
That's well. Oh yeah, I can't even make a joke about that.
Somebody was talking about Stinkfist, I think, on one of you guys' podcasts a long time
Oh
ago.
yeah, the Horde Commander, Stinkfist. Yeah. Speaking of comics, though, can we get a moratorium on people wearing the damn superhero costumes? Can we please stop that?
Yeah.
I mean, we
Stop
need Mysterio in a little bit. Could we just stop that
my
shit?
gosh.
Come
My
on.
God. Well, Bailey, what show were we on where I was like, "That's it, no more"? I think was it when he came out dressed as My Hero Academia or the week?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Where I just said, "Enough of this already. I've had it."
Oh, yeah, it's like
Yeah, you're only pleasing yourself at that point.
Yeah,
Which
and
he's
like
good at anyway.
Gargano came out as like Halloween costume Wolverine. I mean, it's like, could we just cut the shit with this? Stop it. The last few minutes of the match, like you guys have said, Keith Lee just rules. He is. I think he's future world champion, unless Vince sees him dance and decides he's from Planet Funk at some point. But I think Keith Lee, the sky's the limit with him. He is fantastic. Dudes that big shouldn't be able to move like that. The way he sold that spear, holy cow! I mean, it made me buy the spear as a finisher. Which, ever since Goldberg kind of retired, sort of. The spear has been like relegated to like the running hug,
Yes,
like
look at Edge. Edge made a
would, like,
career
run
out
and
of
like hug you, and like the guy would just fall to the side. It's like, okay, this spear actually looked like it did damage, and that a lot of the credit for that goes to Keith Lee for just being as agile as he is. I did like the as corny as like the respect bits are at the end of some of these matches. I did like it because Keith Lee, I think he won a lot of people over. I think he was made tonight, and I look forward to seeing where he goes from here.
I would have had more respect for Keith Lee if when Roman Reigns went to give him a fist punch, he just punched Roman Reigns right in the face. Because like he goes to fist bump him, and then uppercut, and Roman Reigns goes to the moon. Alice. At the risk of having sounded very negative tonight, I will say this. Keith Lee is one of 3 people who came out of this weekend looking like a made man. He looked amazing. The other 2 people are Adam Cole and Rhea Ripley. All the credit in the world to Keith Lee. He's a future superstar. He's somebody that apparently Vince McMahon sees a lot of money in. Good on him. I realize that Tommaso Ciampa, with his graying goat beard, as much as I would like him to be the money guy, I would like him to be rewarded for all of his sacrifices and hard work, and the guy kind of carrying NXT with Adam Cole right now. It's just, I don't think it's in the cards, because when you he's one of those people. I was talking to Bailey about this, where Tommaso Ciampa looks great on NXT in that small studio environment, but you throw him out there with all of these giants in Raw and SmackDown, and you realize just how small Tommaso Ciampa is, and
He becomes Eric Young.
yeah, it's like, oh well, that's unfortunate because you seemed like you were 7 feet tall and fucking bulletproof on NXT, and then you come out there looking like, you know, Chad Gable. It's like, By the way, Chad Gable, Matt Riddle, I want to see do an Iron Man match. The empty arena, Iron Man match, no commentary. Just let me watch that with no pants on. It was amazing. So, yeah, I'm all... That's fine. I would have preferred, actually, if Keith Lee had just won the damn thing, but I guess runner-up to Roman Reigns, LOL. I get it. I don't have to like it. I'm not going to like it. You can't make me. But I understand it. Jesse?
This was my first exposure to Keith Lee. First time I've ever watched him in a match. I'd actually heard his name, I think, either between you guys or maybe it was on another podcast, but I had never seen him in action. So when I saw this guy on the ring apron or coming down to the ring, I was like, oh my gosh, this dude's built. Let's see what he's got. And then I think somebody had mentioned, or I had just in passing, I had understood that this guy had some aerial moves, like a couple crazy things that he's done. As a matter of fact, I was just watching a Twitter clip from him in WarGames on Saturday, and some of the crazy stuff he was doing in that. But anyway, so yeah, I was really impressed with that guy. Matt Riddle looks like he just fell off a surfboard. I swear. I know that's his gimmick, and that's what he looked like tonight. He lived it up. And then you talk about the size difference between some of these guys and the giants of the WWE. And when I saw Randy Orton out there up against some of these dudes, I was like, man, you know what? There's something to the presence of Randy Orton compared to the rest of these guys. And we had a good time watching the match. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins coming down at the end. Is the Shield going to band together and eliminate this last NXT member? And yeah, you guys touched on it there already. It was a great ending to the match. I enjoyed myself watching this one. I don't know much about Walter. I just know the fucking internet broke. It was Jim Cornette and then Walter's lost. That was pretty much 1 and 2 on the internet for some reason this past week. But anyway, yeah, it was a good match.
Alrighty. Other than Rey Mysterio's tribute to Doink the Clown.
I've got
That's
things
exactly
to say.
what that was.
I have got things to say.
I enjoyed the hell out of this match. You know, Brock Lesnar got to toss Rey Mysterio around, and then Rey Mysterio got a hope spot with his kid, and, you know, lead pipes and nut shots and frog splashes, and, you know, it's like, okay, is he going to say like a LOL Brock wins? Yeah, I'm okay with that, though. Brock Lesnar, much cooler than Roman Reigns. I'm fine with this. They're going to keep the title on Brock probably until WrestleMania when they've built up somebody else to take it off of him. It's fine. I'm getting to like Brock versus some of the smaller guys versus Brock versus yet another monster. The only other thing I like better than that is maybe Brock versus another guy who works in MMA style. Those are fun. Those are different. But this was, you know, look, I didn't necessarily immediately buy into the whole Rey Mysterio thing. I figured it was just an angle to bring in Kane, which it was. But, you know, Kane's knee shattered into tiny pieces of chalk, so they got to do something. And watching Brock Lesnar throw Rey Mysterio around and Rey Mysterio trying to make some hash out of the giant side of beef that is Brock Lesnar is, you know, fun to watch. I enjoyed it. This was nice and short. It was 7 minutes long. It was highly entertaining. And then it gave us the line of the night the next night on Raw, where Seth Rollins basically just said what I said, but as an insult. Like, it took a lead pipe in your kid and you still couldn't get it done. Like,
I did it twice in 1 year.
Can't take that away from him. He did. He fucking killed Brock Lesnar in 5 minutes at WrestleMania. Pick on Seth Rollins. He's trying his level best.
He burnt it down.
All right. You know what? You go ahead, Sheehan. What's your problem? What's your problem with Brock Lesnar?
Oh, I love Brock Lesnar. I wish he would have beaten Rollins both those times. But the architect showed up to burn it down for the WWE Universe. The Beast Killer, Kingslayer. Screw that guy.
Yes, sir. Your thoughts on this match, then?
Seth Rollins has showed up here at the podcast. I don't understand what's going on.
I'm going to burn it down.
Mamma mia!
I'm giving you everything I got here, guys. I'm coming from a good place.
Like me. Why won't you like me? I'm Seth Rollins.
Hashtag Monday Night Rollins. Hashtag.
I was in Ring of Honor. Go ahead.
But no, the match was a lot of fun. I thought this was a great match. I love the fact that Dominic Mysterio sold a kick out. Brock kicked out with them both on top, and he like got off and then fell down. So he sold a kick out, which I thought was fantastic. They both sold crazy for Brock, as they should, and the right guy won. I could watch Brock throw dudes around all day, all night, you know, two separate Sundays every day. It'll be good.
All right, Bailey.
Loved it. Fun match. Seeing Dominic get in there and actually pull off some of his moves. Although they tried to do the stereo 619 and Dominic completely missed it, even though his dad hit it. I had a lot of fun with this match. I love seeing Brock Lesnar ragdoll people, and they gave it all to us in this one. Hats off to Mysterio. Hats off to Dominic, who is going to be a good little wrestler when he gets his feet under him and a mask. So looking forward to that. Loved it. No complaints whatsoever with this one.
So, Jesse, you wanted to talk about his tribute to Doink the Clown?
Yeah.
So, this match is predicated on some very serious back matter, okay? If you take a look at what happened and what drove Rey Mysterio to such lengths as to get a lead pipe and take out the wheels of Brock Lesnar, you will see that Brock Lesnar had done some pretty nefarious things to his family, and obviously to Rey Mysterio as well. So, to capitalize, to show everybody how serious Rey Mysterio was, he comes out dressed like a fucking clown. Okay? All right, now look. I understand what they're going for here, okay? This is a tribute. This was, it looked like Doink the Clown. It was obviously most likely trying to play off the Joker. And the recent film that, the crazy man, all right? He's crazy. Look out, ladies and gentlemen. Rey Mysterio has lost his marbles, and he is going to go insane in the membrane all over Brock Lesnar. And I am a comic book fan, and I was taken out by the fact that this motherfucker looks like a clown. He's out here, and I'm supposed to take this seriously. He could have done something he could have dressed up. It should have been a blood red dark costume of some sort. I just right off the outset of that match, I was like, I can't take this seriously, because this is supposed to be some serious stakes in this match. Now, as for the performance and what we had in the ring, I mean, everything was believable. I had my son watch this with me. He has hated Brock Lesnar since he beat John Cena at one. I can't even remember when it was. All those many times that we watched Extreme Rules. That was the one I remember. Did Cena win that one? I can't remember. Either way, he's hated Brock Lesnar since. So last night we watched the match, and he was into it, and boy was he upset at the ending. And it was just like Brock Lesnar had to quickly cover Rey Mysterio and get the hell out of there for fear of getting beat some more. But I had a good time watching. It's always fun to watch my son get into stuff. So there we go.
By the same token, and I don't want to go all the way back to the beginning of the podcast, but I wanted to mention this before. There's nothing more fun than watching this wrestling with small children. My daughter's reaction to Dakota Kai turning on Tegan Nox, she was fucking beside herself.
Oh, no.
Never in her short 8 years on this planet had she seen such betrayal. And
This is her Orndorff Hogan. You know that, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is her Saturday morning watching Andre the Giant fucking rip Hogan's chest off and cross at the same time. You know, it was this was her barbershop moment. This was all of that. Like, Dakota Kai fucking ran and turned to Tina, and she's like, she just looks at me. She's like, "Why? Why would she do that?" Like, and I'm just looking at her like, "Oh, you poor bastard." So yeah, I get it. I'll tell you, I never had much more fun watching wrestling than watching it with her and my son when they react like to something. Like, my son reacts to everything, but like not in earnest. He's like, "Why would they do that?" You know, whatever. Mm-hmm. But my daughter earnestly reacting in horror to something I thought was hilarious and was my favorite part of the weekend. Like, there was nothing better than that. So I get your son's fucking hatred of Brock Lesnar. It doesn't even offend me. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. All right. Here we are. Finally, the last match of the podcast, last match of the weekend.
Can you believe that they ended the weekend with this bag of dicks? Or vagines,
here's
if you
the
want.
problem. This match, any other place on the card, like if it had ended with Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio and this was before it, I don't think it's as bad as all that. Had this ended with a horsewoman standoff, I don't think it's as bad as all that.
Absolutely.
And had someone not spiked Bayley's water with ether before she came out,
She was on Paxil.
Who the fuck let her walk out in that outfit, by the way? Like,
What was she doing? Like, what is she trying to represent here? She went from like the Bailey buddies and all that stuff to antidepressant Indian woman.
I was like, is she like fucking Queen Sheba? Like
Cleopatra.
Yeah, like you're going like an Egyptian thing, and it's like she doesn't have first of all, she doesn't have the face for that.
Garbage. Boy, Sergeant Slaughter's female counterpart.
Second of all,
Ted Hunt.
dude, if she came out, if her heel turn had her coming out in fatigues and a hat, and she was just yelling, "You maggots," I'd have bought into it. That'd have been awesome. Anywho, we're gonna have a boot camp match. Anyway, if you're gonna come out, like, say what you will about Charlotte, but she owns the fucking Queen gimmick. And when she comes out and she does a little pirouette and she's got her peacock robe going, you know, it's like, yeah, like, you may hate Charlotte and you may hate the fact that she gets pushed more than the other women undeservedly, but she owns she owns that stage and she owns that fucking gimmick. So you have Bayley, who's like, I'm going to come out like Cleopatra. Okay.
Ugh.
And then she comes out.
Walks out slowly. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like...
I was expecting like a Wile E. Coyote sign to come up that says, "Why am I here?" or "Help" or something. Like, I actually would have understood it if like she just held up a sign that says "Help." Honestly, I think Becky and Shayna Baszler would have had a fine, dynamic, decent enough match. And I might have even bought into the ending, even minus the horsewomen standoff, had it just been the two of them. And I genuinely and generally like Bayley. And I wish they had decided that her heel turn. I wish they had done more with her heel turn, and the lackadaisical way that they did it. But that being said, she's the frustrating thing is I know I've seen Bayley do better than that. Her match with fucking Sasha back at TakeOver, where she came out looking like cosplaying Dusty Rhodes, she was amazing. They both were. And I'm not the hugest fan of Sasha Banks either. I've seen Bayley have some really good matches with Charlotte. I've seen Bayley have pretty decent matches with some of the other women on the card. So, but she sucked in the main event. She was slow. She was lethargic. She seemed depressed. She dragged down the whole momentum of the thing. And so, and then that ending was like, it just was flat. there was no urgency in it. There was no tension. It was just, she's in, like when Shayna Baszler put Rhea Ripley in the rear naked choke, you could, you were with Rhea, like trying to get out of that thing. Like you could almost feel Shayna Baszler have the rear naked choke on you. You were like in Ripley's shoes. When she had it on Bayley, it was just like, she might as well have put it on like Tainara, or Aaliyah, whenever her face returns to normal after having been kicked in by that one Chinese chick. You know what I mean? Like, it just seemed like, it was another rear naked choke, like no big deal. Like, she's the fucking SmackDown Women's Champion. She's been on this roster for a long time. She's one of the original horsewomen from NXT. There should have been more to it. And then you have that ending where Shane, now Shayna's won, and she put fucking Becky through a table, and she chokes out Becky, and she's the conquering hero, and that's all fine. I like Shayna Baszler. I'm glad they're pushing her. Becky, of course, gets her heat back, and as they say on the Conrad podcasts, Hogan must pose. So she stands tall over Baszler, and everyone's waiting for fucking
something.
Well, let me thread this into a different thought, and then I'm going to shut up and let you guys get in here. But so Shayna walks to the curtain, to the gorilla position, and she's got her goons with her. And they're like, pat on the ass, go get him, Tiger. And she walks out by herself. Okay, fine. You introduced that the goons were there, and then Shayna's getting her ass kicked by Becky, who is getting revenge for having gone through the table, and they just stay back there. Mm-hmm. Worst goons ever. So how did they not run out there and kick the living shit out of Becky? And then, again, here's what I would have done. The goons are kicking the shit out of Becky. Bayley wakes up from her nap. And then she tries to save Becky. The goons start kicking her ass. Out comes Charlotte and Sasha. Now it's 4-on-3 because now Shayna's back up, and they're starting to lose because they're outnumbered by the NXT horsewomen. And boom, Joan Jett hits and outruns Ronda Rousey. And Ronda Rousey starts judo throwing everybody and cleaning house. And then they all roll in the ring, and they got the horsewomen on one side and the NXT horsewomen on the other side, and fade to black. And that's your image coming out of Survivor Series. I think everyone would have forgotten the fact that the match itself kind of sucked. But they would at least would have gone home happy on a really fun angle. Instead, it was just Becky standing there with the title on top of Shayna Baszler, who just won the match, a shitty match. On top of which, like, you people could, the WWE, your main roster, you people could fuck up a wet dream. Bayley?
Yeah, man. You know what? I don't know how to, like you said about Bayley. Bayley was out of her tree in this match. Slow, lethargic. Her punches looked like she was, hitting people with pillows. Tons of light on her moves. Baszler and Becky Lynch is just driving me crazy, like on a Seth Rollins type level. Like I know when Chris does the Seth Rollins impression, that's how I picture Becky Lynch as well. Her voice drives me crazy. Her look, just her walk to the ring gets me irritated. I don't know what it is about this girl. I just wanted Shayna Baszler to smash these two idiots into pulp, but it just ended up being just a sloppy. This did not belong in the main event, by the way. Like, I know that there's all kinds of, the woman's rights, you know what I mean, going on with all this crap, get woke, get broke, all this shit. And this is a perfect example right here.
Elizabeth Banks is going to be mad at you.
Yes, sir. Just like Charlie's Angels, they suck dick. Terrible. How about that? And on that note, gentlemen, I have to depart the podcast.
Leave it on a high note.
That is it for me, and women sucking dick is just a great way to end it.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris.
You guys have a good night.
Later,
Take
man.
care, everybody.
All right, Sheehan, that's your cue. Hit it, baby.
Yes. This was a slog, wasn't it? As bad as Bayley was, I really think if they weren't gonna do the Chekhov's horsemen, the horsewomen here, it's because they did have the two walk out with her, or to the curtain anyway, and the announcers kept mentioning Ronda Rousey the whole match. It's like, well, Becky beat Ronda. So it's like, they got to be doing this for a reason. And they just didn't pull the trigger on Chekhov's gun that time. But the fact that they didn't do it, I don't see any reason why Bayley shouldn't have stolen the victory here. You know, just I think that's a way to heat Shayna up to just kick ass on NXT again. Just be like, hey, I took 2 losses this weekend. I got to do something to get my my oomph back. I thought they were leading to something different toward the end of the match when Shayna had Bayley in the clutch. She was like, she was facing one way and then like really jerked into a different position where she showed her back to where Becky was. It felt like they were building to something, like something was going to happen that Shayna wasn't going to see coming. But it didn't happen. It was just we waited 15, 20 seconds, then Bayley finally tapped out. It was just really just sucked the wind out of it. It was very anticlimactic. To piggyback off of what our buddy Chris said here, Becky, her aloofness, I think they're confusing what made Steve Austin work with just pure aloofness. Because we're at the point now where Becky doesn't take any of her opponents seriously. We saw the sit-down interview between her and Baszler on Raw or SmackDown a few weeks ago, and like she was just smirking the whole time. She's like, "Oh, who are you?
Boy, was that a whole lot of nothing."
Wasn't it? I mean, what? It's just this aloofness and not taking anything seriously. You don't look like a tough guy anymore. You just look like an asshole. And that's Becky has become an asshole. And it's just unpleasant to see her win matches, or not even win matches, but just stand tall. There was no reason for her to stand tall over Baszler because, I mean, Baszler's not on Raw. Becky's not on NXT. What's the point of getting your heat back on somebody you're not going to be sharing a ring with for at least several months? I just don't get it.
It made more sense for like all the women or really the whole NXT locker room that was there that night to just run down and carry Shayna Baszler on her shoulders. Like, why did Becky have to Hogan must pose?
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, if you had to do that spot, you should have done it with Bayley because, I mean, it's just such a waste. It just and after not an overwhelmingly, but a weekend that was like a net positive. It wasn't the best weekend of wrestling, but it was a net positive in my opinion. To end on this note, just made me hit menu on my Apple TV a little bit more sour than I would have otherwise. It's just not the best way to end one of the big 4 shows of the year.
Yeah, like NXT builds to a crescendo, and you're just like, satisfied. I can go to sleep now. Like, that one ended, and you're like, I don't even want to go to bed right now. I just need to walk. I need to kind of I need to kind of stare into the middle distance for a while. Think about my life.
That's it. I mean, it's like, what did I just do with the last 5 hours of my life?
Maybe I'm not the smartest man, but I think I've been had here.
I've been sold a bill of goods, eh?
Jesse, take me home, baby doll.
All right. Well, I love everything you guys are saying. Granted, I saw the, let's just say, the emotionlessness. Well, maybe there is a bit of emotion there coming from Bayley. It's just not, it's definitely opposite of what we were used to seeing from her. She's depressed. She's, maybe after every segment or after every match, they'll put up the suicide hotline because it's just, it's just that run down. And yes, she did seem like she was kind of, I don't know, out of her element. I don't know. This definitely shouldn't have gone on last. So I don't want to repeat everything that you guys said because you guys have made some great points there. Let's just do this. My main note coming out of this match is that whatever the master control man or the cameraman had in his drink needed to go in Bayley's because I legitimately have never been taken out of a match by somebody who wasn't performing in the ring. The cameraman cut, I swear, there were points where he was not on the action more than 1 second. It was like every strike then we had a quick cut to another angle, then another strike, another angle. And I almost couldn't watch it because I could tell I could predict when they were going to do a camera cut, and I didn't like that. I wanted to see the action. And, I wonder if, let's just say Bayley was off a little bit, and she knew that going into it. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't tell anything like you guys possibly could have. You guys are better. You guys are better viewers of the sport than I am. But let's just say she knew, and she told the cameraman, "Look, if you guys want to get this product over, do me a favor and just ramp it up a notch because what I'm going to be laying
my
out
move set."
Yes, there you go. Exactly, exactly. So I kind of wondered that as well. But either way, yeah, there was a lot that could have been put out there in this main event that really left us hanging with a bad taste in our mouth. I certainly wasn't satisfied. This should have been mid-card, but, whatever.
They would frame up these shots, and it was usually they'd start from a pan out, but they would frame something in the middle, and then they would do a close-up. And the minute they got to where the close-up was supposed to be to see whatever it was they were trying to show you, they would cut away.
I know, dude. That makes no sense.
And I started to think this was on purpose.
Why?
Like there's people on the truck going, "This show is the drizzling shit. Hey, what if we don't show them stuff?"
All right, I need the 100 cameras around there. Be ready. Be ready, because here we go. It's just like fucking. I don't know, man. It was crazy. But
I think after 5 hours of wrestling plus the pre-show plus whatever else the guys in the truck have to do, they're all just on meth now. Mm-hmm. That's the only way they get through it.
Yep.
And they may have done a little too much in the truck because I noticed the same thing. I'm like, I'm actually starting to get ill watching this.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Overall. And we've been at this a while now, so I'll just wrap by saying that I wish as I said before, I wish we had just gotten NXT this weekend and just kind of skipped Survivor Series. I agree with you guys, and if you don't like just them cutting promos on each other, but offering a prize of some sort or stakes to Survivor Series would have made it more appealing. I don't disagree with you. I would have been okay, though, with just them taking it personally and not the sort of stock retard brand supremacy. And it was just... I feel like I say the same thing about the WWE. The WWE is just bland. It's, it's the same Harlem Globetrotter show they've been doing for 100 years. And, WWE comes in, the Globetrotters beat the Generals... Kids are happy. They bought hats and basketballs. Everyone goes home. There are moments of authenticity amidst a large pool of beige. Of just bland mediocrity. Nothing's ever so bad. Oh, the red light's terrible. But most of the stuff is never so bad to where you're like, and that's the thing, I love kind of watching AEW and some of this other wrestling that I've paid attention to this year, because some of it's so bad it's actually fun, and there's something to talk about. With this, I always kind of land in the same place, another day, another show, very unsatisfied, it's kind of like a hooker who's sleeping. It's just kind of, whatever. I put it in there, took it out, it's over. Here's $20. Goodbye. You know what I'm talking about, Sheehan? Just a hooker who don't care.
There you are, yeah. And this entire like you mentioned earlier, you wish we could just cut out this past decade. And I'm reminded of one of those. I think it was either the Monday Night War or the Rise and Fall of WCW DVD butcher jobs that WWE put out back 10, 15 years ago. They cut to a clip of Eddie Guerrero saying, "You didn't even know what month it was if you turned on our show." And with the way things are now, you don't even know what friggin' year it is. because it's the same people on top. It's the same storylines. You know that every October or whatever month it is, you're going to have a Hell in a Cell match. You know, everything is just so contrived and compartmentalized that there's nothing fresh, there's nothing new, there's nothing worth getting excited over. I mean, we had like this little blink of light with the weirdo Firefly Funhouse skits. It's like, oh, this is different, it's interesting, and then it's like, it's just going to lead to a wrestling angle, and it's and we're going to get just as tired of it as we are of the Shield are back together. Oh, the Shield broke up. The Wyatts are back together. Harper and Rowan are back together. Oh, they broke up again. It's just so much of the same stuff. I really feel like we need some new blood, both in front of the camera and behind the camera, to make something worth getting excited about, good or bad, rather than indifferent.
One of the most fun nights I had watching weekly wrestling was the night that the Alliance formed, and there were 2 points in the Invasion. You know, because the Invasion gets just shit on by everybody, and with good reason. It was terrible. But there were bright points, and one of those was the night that like ECW showed up, and then at the end of the night they formed the Alliance. Mm-hmm. That moment in time where everybody in the ring from ECW turned on Jericho and Kane, I legitimately shrieked like a girl. I was happy.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, it was just like, because it made so much sense, but at the same time, we didn't see it coming. And I think we hold ourselves to this standard where we should see everything coming, and they actually managed to slip one past the goalie there. So it was just so satisfying, and like, I totally get what you're saying.
If you deconstruct, it's like, yeah, sure, they all work for the company. Like, some of them were just in WrestleMania, you know? Like, yep. we get it. But they took, despite the cynicism and despite the deconstruction, they created a moment that transcended the cynical view of wrestling and created a genuinely, authentically great moment in wrestling. The other one was Paul Heyman's promo the night before Survivor Series. You know,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I showed my daughter had to like do a monologue for her drama class, her musical theater class. And I actually showed her that. And I was like, this guy delivered one of the great monologues in modern history. And I was pointing out, like, it's not just the use of inflection and how he used the space on the stage, which is the ring, you know, what he did with his hands, the way he delivered some of the lines. And, you know, he would, like, I don't know if it was purposeful or not, but he kind of flubbed some of the lines here or there, and he would have to slow himself down and, like, focus again. But there was so much passion in it. And it came from a very real place. It was obviously pre-approved, you know.
But you know, it was something that he'd probably said to himself in front of a mirror for years leading up to that.
Sure.
So there was authenticity there, and it was another great payoff. It's we just don't get those anymore.
You know,
we just don't.
For every CM Punk pipe bomb and Daniel Bryan win at WrestleMania 30. You just have to wade through so much mediocrity. Again, none of it's so bad that you're kind of excited to watch because, like, how much worse could this possibly get? Mm-hmm. But none of it's great either. And, you know, in here, even in just the 4 weeks that they built up the Survivor Series, so you have all the wrestlers stuck in Saudi Arabia. I'm sorry, hostage. My eyes are now in the back of my head. I got to put them back where they were. There we go. And so whether they planned it or not, it gave them, you know, the opportunity to have like an NXT invasion, and it was fine. There were parts of it that I was into and enjoyed, but it was like they can't stop themselves for when they do something once, they have to do it 100 times. Mm-hmm. And they don't. And I said this about the Becky Charlotte thing. Like, they do a thing, it ends up working despite themselves. Like, they
trip into it.
Yeah, yep. They fall backwards into awesomeness periodically. They don't have any insight how they ended up there. They just know they're there now. And then, like idiots, they're just like, they do it again. They're like infants. the management and writing and people focusing the direction of the company are like infants, and there's just some guy making goofy faces and like, do it again. Blah, 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 do it again. Blah, 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 an hour later, do it again. Blah, 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 12 hours later, do it again. I'm done. I'm done talking now.
Done talking now.
All right. Any last words, Mr. Sheehan?
No, sir. No, sir.
Jesse, any last words?
I had a good time talking about this with you tonight, and Nigel McGuinnes may return later. You never know.
Yay.
Terrific. Can we do source material as used, Nigel McGuinnes?
No.
Let's talk about the Teen Titans.
Right over here we have Nightwing. You can't believe it. Yes, indeed. Fuck Batman.
All right, Chris, do your plugs.
You can find me at a few different places. Chris is on Infinite Earths is my still daily blog. I don't know how much longer it'll still be daily, but I am wrapping up my Action Comics daily excursion, which took about a year. Went through every single story from the 1988-1989 run where Action Comics went weekly in an anthology format with a lot of terrible stories. You can also find me over at chrisandreggie.com, where I have a number of shows, including the one with Mr. Bailey, More Tory Mondays. Got another one planned for the beginning of 2020, which is going to be pretty big, and Mr. Starcher is part of that. But I won't say much more about it, because I don't want to be one of those guys who announces a project, then it falls through, and then I look like an idiot. So there's something coming, hopefully, very soon.
Welcome to my boxing Wednesday, my boxing Saturdays.
There you go. But yeah, you can find me on the Twitter machine at Ace Comics.
All right. Jesse and I, well, first of all, speaking of boxing, and speaking of projects similar to what Chris is doing in terms of, like a weekly or scheduled series of things, Pat and I are doing a long, strange, winding road through the history of heavyweight championship boxing. And we started off with the first 5 lineal champions. That's a real thing.
Yes.
And Jack Johnson, who is a Hall of Famer. So check out that episode. And the next one we're going to be doing is Jack Dempsey. And we'll get that done hopefully in the month of December sometime. It was a lot of fun. Something I don't know, we do extemporaneous reviews here. We typically don't do those kinds of series-type podcasts, these deep dives. So it's a little out of my comfort zone, but Pat and I dance well together. We don't step on each other's feet too much, so it was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to doing more, especially when we start getting into guys like Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, some of the guys that I'm really excited about. Eventually, and this is all to say that Deontay Wilder sucks. So,
Woo, hot take.
But you know who doesn't suck, and Jesse can tell you that the Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
That's right, damn it.
We did a TV party for Wu-Tang and American Saga. We had a great time. It was just Jesse and I. We get together. We talk about these shows. We have no format. We just call it in the ring, brother. And we had a wonderful time talking about this amazing show, and I only mentioned The Wire twice.
And a specific character which you could not remember the name of. Took about 20 minutes.
I eventually figured out that it was Marlowe.
Yes, you did.
Speaking of the Wu-Tang Clan, tomorrow, the Metal Hammer of Doom, our night before Thanksgiving annual show. In years past, we've done like Poison and Limp Bizkit and just all kinds of crazy bands. Well, this time we're going in the opposite direction. We're doing one of the great albums, one of the most perfect albums, one of the Hall of Fame rap albums of all time, Wu-Tang Clan, Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers. Jesse, I had a bad day at work today, but I was bumping Wu-Tang in the car on the way home. Felt much better.
Get you a little bit of chest boxing going on?
Oh, my God. I'll protect your neck, motherfucker.
Hell yeah, it'll be a fun time.
Chris Sheehan's just like sidewalking out of this conversation. He's like, I don't know what's going on here.
Is that a musical band?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
These are some musical brothers who put together just a lovely sound.
From your guys' neck of the woods, though, from New York, where were they located at, Mark Radulich?
Staten Island.
Staten Island, that's right.
I lived there for 3 years.
There you go.
All right. Hopefully, in theory, we'll do some boxing this weekend. There's a couple of different cards. So hopefully John Law will make himself available. John War, rather. will make himself available, and we'll get to do some boxing. Otherwise, I'm going to have to drag Winfrey out of his house, kicking and screaming, and make him do it. So, we'll see what happens. In the meantime, we've got shows for The Boys, Volume 1, Name of the Game, Ford vs. Ferrari, Dragon Force, Extreme Power Metal, She-Ra Season 4, and The Boys Season 1. Next week is a busy week. We got Teen Titans by Jeff Johns, the first 12 issues. We've got a Damn You Hollywood for Knives Out. Rings of Saturn, get 'em. We got our TV party review for Lady and the Tramp, the live action on Disney+. And then we've got Titans, Season 2. Myself and Jesse will talk about that. And Saturday night, Overeem versus Rosenstruck. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait.
I just ordered that in the bakery this morning.
You ordered some Rosenstruck?
A little bit of Rosenstruck, a little bit of au jus.
Tell him I said bon appetit. All right, had a lot of fun here tonight. We went very, very long, but I thought it was worth it. I want to thank the Chris's, I want to thank the Jessies, and I want to thank Nigel McGuinnes for just being there.
You're welcome.
Be well, be safe, and behave.
Just in time for Sizzling Sprint Week. Now through Sunday, November 17th, get a free 49-inch LG 4K TV when you lease the LG G8X ThinQ Plus dual screen for just $15 per month. That's right, a free TV. Hurry in, this offer won't last long. Visit your local Sprint store now through November 17th and take advantage of this offer while supplies last. Phone $15 per month after $16.21 per month credit. Apply within 2 bills. Requires 18-month lease, new line activation, and approved credit. If you cancel early, remaining balance due. Excludes tax, TV, and screen. Require online registration. Ships from LG. Not available in stores. Subject after $30 activation fee. Restrictions apply. Just in time for Sizzling Sprint Week. Now through Sunday, November 17th, get a free 49-inch LG 4K TV when you lease the LG G8X ThinQ Plus dual screen for just $15 per month. That's right, a free TV. Hurry in, this offer won't last long. Visit your local Sprint store now through November 17th and take advantage of this offer while supplies last. Phone $15 per month after $16.21 per month credit. Apply within 2 bills. Requires 18-month lease, new line activation, and approved credit. If you cancel early, remaining balance due. Excludes tax, TV, and screen. Require online registration. Ships from LG. Not available in stores. Subject after $30 activation fee. Restrictions apply.